If you do
I,
think that AIPAC has outsized influence in American politics, right? If you do think that it's funding politicians for a cause that you do not support, is there a way to criticize it without being anti-Semitic?
yes, J Street does
How?
Yes.
it. J Street is a poses itself as a like a Jewish alternative to AIPAC, where they actually are more mindful of like Palestinian suffering and they support two states and things like that. I don't think anyone calls them anti-Semitic. Maybe maybe some AIPAC people do, but yeah, like we know that they're spending a lot of money right now, especially in Democrat primaries. That they're putting money through the United Democracy Project to do so, record amounts of money. But I guess the interesting thing about it is that is not also everyone noticing that they're failing, that they are losing money, they're losing these races, even if they're spending record amounts, as they just did with Stevens against Al Sayed. And I think when you track their success rate as well, it doesn't actually seem like their success rate is all that different from other single issue groups like the NRA or Planned Parenthood, which actually reflects even worse on APAC because they spend more money on campaigns, like far more money on campaigns individually than these other orgs do. So they spend more money to get a roughly similar success rate or even like a slightly lower one. But for some reason, they have just become like the face of all billionaire corporate evil money. Like it just becomes APAC right now rather than PACs in general, or I guess it used to be the billionaire class, but now it feels like APAC is just a much more convenient. Again, it's a scapegoat for all of it.
Now that
I
you're
would
back,
also add,
oh, go
I
ahead,
would
Kraut.
like to add that like Cenk and Anna, the thing that sort of really grinds my gears about them is that they're so opportunistic. I, to an extent, don't necessarily believe that either of them are genuinely anti-Semites, but they're willing to, at the very least, use anti-Semitism and weaponize it for their own purposes to grow their audience. If you remember when Alex Jones got chased off YouTube, that is when Cenk began espousing some of the most demented conspiracy theories about 9/11 and whatnot. I think those two in particular are just people who just they see an audience gap and they want to take it, and then recognized that there's a lot more anti-Semitism on social media, and decided, oh yeah, we're going to jump onto that. We're going to try to grift an audience out of that. That is how I see these two. They're taking something, they're seeing the popularity of anti-Semitism, and decided, yeah, we're going to jump on that.
No, that makes sense. Soy Pill, now that you're back, do you want to hop in on the discussion or
Yeah,
invite
I'm
Are
sympathetic
you
to
in?
the idea that people are putting way more focus on, let's say, APAC. Like APAC is not one of the top like lobbying groups. They are one of the top like electoral spenders, especially in primaries. And I am sympathetic to the fact of like, well, why are we focusing on APAC so much? And people saying, well, oh, maybe it's because of anti-Semitism. But I think when you look at things that are more pervasive and long-standing in politics, like the NRA, like oil lobbying, like this is common, and this is like the new hot button issue is, hey, this group that is lobbying against incumbents, against Democrats, that is almost apolitical in a sense because they're primarily just whichever group is going to be more amicable to Israel. And then you've got the October 7th post stuff and all the genocide. I think it isn't crazy that it's being hyper focused on, that a lot of this is like, hey, I don't like corporate spending, and this just happens to be one of the biggest spenders in these primaries, in elections, and it's happening against Democrats. It's coming from like a very small group of people, so it's like a lot less grassroots. Like, yeah, I would say it is very much a I don't know, like the punching bag for money in politics. But I'm not quite sure, like, oh, well, they're not succeeding, so that's good. I mean, first of all, that's a more recent thing. They are realizing that Israel, is actually going to be a more hot button issue, and they can't even label themselves as APAC spending anymore. They do the United Defense Project and try to just put attack ads against people that they don't like, and it doesn't have anything to do with Israel. It's just, hey, look, this candidate's bad. It's not necessarily being framed as an Israel issue or a Jewish issue. I don't know if that success rate is really indicative of like whether or not it's a good or a bad thing. It isn't necessarily also just APAC that is used as the punching bag here. I mean, when we look at how it is framed on social media, you all are probably familiar with Track APAC, who just makes shit up about who
Yeah.
takes money from APAC. You're probably also familiar with like the constant, oh, it's like this weird soup that people post about. It's Zog, Epstein, APAC, everything mixed together. It's never just directly APAC. It's never just that one group. It's like always is like
amalgamation of shit thrown together and then thrown as the supposed reason. And the only thing that the shit stoop has in common is that they always try to pin Jews into it. It's always Jewish. Always
What's
Jewish.
interesting as well is like the fact that
It's
I don't know
always
if you guys noticed this, but with AIPAC, I think through United Democracy Project, which is their super PAC, they pushed something like 24 to 25 million dollars into Stevens's campaign. But because she received quite a bit of money from other sources as well, people just added all of it together and just said like this entire sum total is all AIPAC money. Like so that's why 30 million AIPAC money suddenly became 60, right? And the numbers just kept on going up from I think even Al Sayed kept saying it was like 45 plus million, which again I don't know why he felt so compelled to add another 15 million to why he decided to give it a
Well,
50% increase, but
on that note, one of the things that Elsa and I this is, I guess, the start to our game. Is this anti-Semitic? And I got some tweets that we can look up. Um, one of the things that El Said said during the primary, a Tavern Research poll came out, and this was a few weeks before the primary, before all the plus 20, plus 14 polls were coming out. It had him down by, I think, one or two. Uh, when he was asked about it, he said it was an AIPAC funded poll, right? And he dismissed it on those grounds. AIPAC had nothing to do with that poll. Is blaming negative polls on AIPAC when AIPAC had nothing to do with it, can that be a form of anti Semitism?
Yeah, it can be, but it also isn't necessarily. I mean, like the problem, unfortunately, with a lot of these things is if you talk candidly about what is actually happening, it does sometimes play into anti-Semitic tropes. I mean, the tropes of Jews use financial systems to control things, or like it's a small group of people doing manipulating politicians, and like if you have AIPAC dumping lots of money as a Jewish organization to try to influence politicians, which is, you could just, that's objectively true. There are ways that you can lump that into some crazy anti Semitic conspiracy theory. But you could just say, hey, I've been thinking that AIPAC has been doing a lot of bad things, and I think AIPAC did this bad thing. And that's not necessarily anti Semitic, but it's very hard to distinguish between these two things because anti Semites will say it, and then non anti Semites will say it. It blurs the line a little bit there.
Well,
Yeah,
question. No question. Let's say it was a Republican candidate who is of the kind of like more populist Vance territory. He's being told that there's a poll that shows his opponent 1 point up in the polls. And he says, with no evidence, that sounds like a Soros poll. Is your instinct to just say, oh, we don't know, that might be anti Semitic?
Yeah, because I think Soros is a
You
boogeyman among
really?
the MAGA.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
because
maybe.
Soros is a
Yeah,
boogeyman among MAGA, and while
yeah,
Soros is absolutely played upon by like the anti-Semitic pundits like the Tucker Carlsons and these people, it's also
uh,
like you go and you talk to these MAGA people and they think Soros is this like big evil Democrat billionaire, and like I don't even know if that many people know he's Jewish. So it depends. My first instinct would be that it is anti-Semitic because that's just typically what you would see from these groups, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is.
even though we do know that Soros funds liberal causes and
I'm
things like that, right? But
Yeah.
okay, just to be clear though, I'm just going to say it if no one else will. Like, if a right winger did that, if they said that about a poll that had them 1 point
I'm like
down,
super
they
frozen.
would
Sorry if I'm
say,
cutting someone off. I'm gonna leave and try to join back because I can't even hear you guys if you're talking.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I was going to say if that had, I'm just going to say if that had happened with a right winger who's like of the kind of Vance Tucker Carlson wing, and they saw a poll that they didn't like, and where they baselessly said that sounds like a Soros poll, no one on the left would give any charitability to that. They would just say that is like there's a total dog whistle, like through and through. I'm just curious why the ifs and the buts come for Al Sayed.
Yeah, I would say that I kind of differ there. I do think it is definitely playing into anti-Semitic tropes. The where I would think maybe there's some room for difference is when we're talking like politically, right? And there's like other calculuses that have to go into it. In his primary, APAC is spending big. And I do think him stressing money in politics was kind of a winning issue for him. So maybe there was some calculus of just grouping this in with that. But regardless, I think it's a bad look and I think it's more harmful than it is beneficial. I just don't know if I would call the intent anti Semitic, but it definitely plays into those tropes.
And if say in a few years, say PALPAC, which is like this kind of emerging pro-Palestinian pack that's trying to be like it's the rival to AIPAC from the
Mhm.
other side, say they grow big enough and then they are funding campaigns, then like a pro-Israel Dem sees a poll they don't like and say, I don't know, that sounds like PALPAC money. I don't know. I just feel like the anti-Arab Islamophobia claim would just be so much easier to make against them from the left. I'm just wondering why there's this like.
No, I
Can I
agree.
post
Okay.
things in
Would
the
be
side chat here? Can I post things in the side chat here?
Yes. What are you
Or
trying
should
to
I
post?
just
I can
DM
show
it
it on
to?
stream if you want to post something, right?
I'll. Oh, I can't send you DMs because I'm. Wait, I'll post it in the side chat of the backstage.
And
So
Lonerbox, I was. Oh, you can go ahead. Sorry.
well, yeah, it's like the issue with this is like if you notice a pattern of attacks from a political action group, let's say it's AIPAC, let's say it's Soros, and then you see another one, you're like, probably Soros. I don't think this is necessarily anti-Semitic, right? It depends on the pattern of the behavior, right? If someone were to come out, like if Kraut, a person I know to be, left wing, well educated with a German history, were to come to me and tell me, question the Holocaust, I wouldn't immediately ascribe this as anti-Semitism, even though for 99% of anyone coming up to me and saying, hey, I don't think the numbers are right, I would be like, okay, there's a good chance this guy's anti-Semitic. Like, it depends on entirely who this is coming from, what the pattern of behavior they have, who they're usually accused of this sort of stuff. And if there is a repeated, like, hey, AIPAC has been spending millions of dollars against me, and like just coming out and saying it's an AIPAC poll, I wouldn't even immediately jump to say this is anti-Semitism. I'd say
Do you
this
see the
is...
thing that I
Oh.
sent to Wick?
Let's see.
I'm sharing it on the screen.
Would you say it raises eyebrows?
Absolutely.
Do you remember this? Do you remember that tweet by
Hey,
Trump?
Wick, you're streaming your audio too.
Oh, how do I stop that?
I just
You can
muted
mute it. You can mute it. Yeah.
More options.
Do you remember that tweet that that Trump made? Hillary, the most corrupt candidate ever, and he used that red Star of David, and the outrage it caused.
Yeah.
Yes. Go through 2016 Twitter, look up the people who called that out, and look at what they have been posting throughout the last year as a little thought experiment.
They all are they
lesson in
zogging
hypocrisy.
out, or is that who's?
Yeah, a lot of them are now zogging out. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say. So since Lonerbox brought a hypothetical, what if someone did this with the Soros thing? I thought I'd bring up a real example, an actual one. Go look up the people who called that out back in the
Just
day
to
and
be
what they
clear,
post now.
we'd all consider that anti-Semitic, right? That's pretty clear.
There's like literally
Pretty
no
obvious.
other reason to use a Star of David as like a graphic
That-
there.
Not
There you go.
necessarily. She's a very pro-Israel candidate, and Trump was just trying to rile up the masses who are critical of the Jewish state and their actions in Palestine.
Yeah, but he's pro-Israel.
But but he's a cynical politician. What are you going to do?
I think
Sorry for
with
that
Trump,
I'm sorry. It just feels like there's a level of charity that's extended to one side but not the other. But I
Well,
think
I was just gonna say, I think
yeah, go
in
on.
that specific example, it's a little bit different, just because for Trump there is a such strong like pattern of behavior with like the globalization stuff he's pushed, with Soros and all these other kind of like Jewish billionaires to go with something like that. That I think it makes it more concrete. But it's kind of weighing different things. I think, like
I think
do we
there's
think that
degrees.
the
There's
post.
degrees to it, right? There's degrees to how some people hide it, how some people phrase it. Like I think one of the worst anti-Semites in our current media landscape is Tucker Carlson. It became obvious way before the Gaza war broke out, way before he started even talking about Israel, when in how he talked about Ukraine, specifically how he framed Zelensky as a Jew who sacrificed Christians for a globalist cause, which is when you say it like that, it just obviously sounds anti-Semitic, but it's not how he says it, right? There's degrees to hiding what you actually want to say. There's degrees to which you can sort of serve it covertly in. And Tucker Carlson is really, really good at sort of covertly serving anti-Semitism to his audience without them even realizing it. While others, I would argue that a lot of these Zog posters, the leftist ones, are not really good at hiding their anti-Semitism, but they just sort of, they do the thing that a lot of right-wing people did in 2016. This sort of post-ironic bullshit posting. Oh, it's shit posting. Oh, it's meme posting, when it's actually not meme posting.
Let's
in many
let's
ways.
get some examples, okay? I got our little game here, and I found a few tweets. So I'm going to share them on the screen. And I'm going to start off easy. What I think is, and maybe this is just my opinion, pretty obvious. And then we're going to go to less obvious. Okay. Let me see. Let me make it big for you guys. Oh, this is as big as it's going to get. So the representative says, I'm an anti-DSA Democrat. Proudly, unapologetically, forever, crush the DSA. Gato Fuminate replies, Jewish Zionists absolutely hellbent on demonstrating that they're a singularly toxic force in American politics. Lamau, every single one of you needs to be purged from all positions of power and influence. So, is this anti-Semitic? What do you think, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it is, and it's funny because it's the one word difference, and it's Jewish. If they had just said Zionists, and I think there's a lot of ways you can critique Zionism and not be anti-Semitic, I would have said, no, I mean, they just don't like the project of what Israel's doing right now. But the fact that they added Jewish, and like, for what reason? Like, other than like call out their Jewishness, like, I think that's pretty clear.
So, well, hold on.
I would.
In the hypothetical, they left out the Jewish. You would say that's
I don't
probably
know.
not anti-Semitism? What?
Yeah,
say
I don't
body.
think it would be.
Like
I would
if
think
someone
it
said
still is.
Zionists are hell bent on demonstrating that they're a singularly toxic force in American politics and need to be purged from all power. If someone said that
Yeah.
Zionists,
I'm
Yeah,
team
no,
anti-Semitic
that makes it like
regardless.
singularly hell-bent, purged. It would be anti-Semitic still.
this is
without
the
Jews.
bind that you get.
And I
again,
think
where
most
he
of
just
us,
said Zionists, so it's not going to be all Jews. It's just going to be most of them.
So
and I
what if
think
it's
most
both
of
of
us
them?
here know
I
who
am
Gato
team
Fumador is.
this would still be anti-Semitism. I want that on the record.
Okay, well,
Got
as the 1v3 now, or 4, I guess, just because most Jews believe in it necessarily makes it anti-Semitic?
When it's kind of like a crucial part of Jewish identity for most Jews, then yes.
But it
It's not
depends. It
just like a
depends on
random thing that they want to political
like
agenda they have.
what they're, again. This is why the word Zionist is so frustrating,
But that's
because
not
I
how.
think you would
That's
agree.
not.
I think
That's
part
not
of
how
it is
most anti-Semites
Hold
use the
on, you
word
guys. Look,
anti-Semite.
I love the energy. You all are excited to get in here. I want to hear Soy Pill finish, then I want to go to Kraut, and then we can get Social Society in here. Go
Right.
ahead.
So like the issue is Zionism means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, especially when you look at like polls that show like what is it, 70-something% of people or Jews are like Zionist, right? Does this mean they want a safe place for Jews in the world? That's Zionism, okay? Okay, well, that's like a completely normal opinion, and if someone were to say something akin to all Zionists should be treated like Nazis, it's like, well, holy shit, just for wanting to be safe? That's fucking insane, and that's probably a little anti-Semitic, if not really anti-Semitic, not a little. Versus Zionism as it exists, hey, I think we need to maintain an ethnic majority, and we should continue to purge people to maintain said ethnic majority and kick people off their land to do this ethnic majority. This is something that a lot of people, I think, could rapidly disagree with without being anti-Semitic and say, I don't care what your race is, I don't believe that any country or people should be able to do this to another group of people. But if you were to say Zionists, as in I'm referencing the people that believe that's okay, are, rabid and disgusting and should be purged from politics, I don't think that would be anti-Semitic, which is why I think Zionist probably shouldn't be used
But
at all,
question
because it's
is
such an
like-
easy cudgel to use as like, are you being anti-Semitic, or are you just, against the worst parts of what Zionism entails?
But the question is, what we do that with any other belief system? Would we, if someone said that about Muslims, would we say, oh, maybe they're just talking about the Muslims who want to establish a caliphate and oppress women and kill all the Jews and the Christians?
Well, you said
Like,
earlier
no,
in
we
this
wouldn't.
discussion that you hate Islam, right?
Yeah, I don't like Islam, the
Hey.
religion. Yeah, but again, it's okay to say you don't like Zionism or you hate Zionism as well. I don't think that's necessarily anti-Semitic. But I think if I was going to a place of like where that person was saying that they're a singularly toxic force, then that does sound like you're giving them power that they don't have, like an exceptional level of power that they don't have. You are singling them out. You're scapegoating them for, I guess, every other toxic force in the United States. And you're also saying that you want to discriminate against them. You want to purge them from
Purge them.
power and public
Purging
life.
is not extermination. Purging is also sort of getting rid of something.
If-
Purging is an exterminationist language.
If this was
especially when it comes from a
2016,
communist.
if this was 2016 and the tweet said MAGA is a singular toxic force and there are only like 2 or 3 MAGA politicians and they need to be purged, I would have the exact same argument. Even if like
Hold on.
70% of white people liked MAGA, right?
MAGA is not an ethnic, is not tied
It's
to
not
any
a
sort of
collective. It's not a
ethno-religious
protected class.
identity.
Yeah, it's not, or it's not like a
Not
it's not a
neither is
national
Zionist.
identity. Well, it's not a national identity. It's not like something that an entire religious group or an entire ethnic group or the majority of an ethnic group considers to be like kind of essential to at least
Again, we're
quite a lot of
hiding
their
behind the
survival.
wide spectrum of like what Zionist means to people. When we look at the majority of Jews, do the majority of Jews support the ethnic cleansing of Gazans? I don't think so, but a majority of Jews probably say, I want a place in the world where Jews can go in case of the worst, types of things like in the 40s were to
I
happen to them, right? Like these are very different terms, and saying, I think Zionism is disgusting. That's why I don't like using the word Zionist. It's like this is
I
it's
think we
an
can
all-encompassing
infer.
Do you
thing.
think okay? So just
That
just
there's a
on a
problem that they're
guess
making.
without. Do you think that Gato person, when they think
Yeah.
Zionist, they think Jew that just wants a safe place in the
Oh,
world versus Jew
well,
that wants
again,
to destroy all the Muslims and kill it? Yeah.
exactly, and we're getting on this hypothetical where I'm like, yeah, had they used different language, I might have said they weren't anti-Semitic, but like they are
It's not just
because of the
different
language they
language.
use.
It's
They
like
said Jewish
we all
Zionists,
know
so
we all know who Gato Fumador is. We've interacted with
yeah.
him before. Like it's kind of absurd to take one statement of his and sort of not compare it to any other statements or to what his personality is. You know that he's a bit of a, not just a bit, he's quite a bit of a Jew baiter.
My understanding is yeah,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
just goes back to my point about patterns of behavior and who they are outside. So
Social society. Go ahead. Give us what you
yeah,
got.
I would say there's two things on it. I think the rhetoric definitely plays into anti-Semitism again because of how it permeates is different than other kinds of bigotry, where like a lot of bigotry is about like, I guess, minimizing or making the people seem lesser than. Anti-Semitism really is about like creating this caricature, like an elite that's above you, and then reducing the entire group of like Jewish people down to this caricature. So when they're saying things like a single existential threat and using language like that, I don't think Jewish is necessarily what makes that anti-Semitic. And the other big thing is I think outcomes matter as much as intent in conversations. And if so much like the majority of Jewish people are Zionists and you want to purge Zionists from our democracy, well, that's going to discriminate against Jewish people. So I think that that's a bit anti-Semitic too. So that's where like my disagreement would be, why I would think that is anti-Semitic regardless.
would it be? Would you? I have a question. Would it
ahead.
be like anti-German in the 40s to say like we should purge Nazis from our government because like most of the country was Nazis? I wish Kraut was here.
I am here. I'm just.
Oh, okay,
smoking.
okay, yeah, because
want to
I want
smoke
your
on
input on
screen.
this too, specifically.
I don't think
No,
it
but
would
that's
be
also for the same
anti-German.
reason that people who spoke that way about ultra Zionists are going to be different, right? Like,
Ultra Zionist being sorry,
well, because Zionism is really just Jewish nationalism. Like at its foundation, it's the idea of like there being a Jewish state in the same way there's a German state. So just being, it's like saying that I don't know why we go from Nazi when really the analog would be German. Like
no.
I mean, if
Zionism
you-
is a belief. There are eschatologists, there are American Zionists that are not Jewish. It is not inherently tied to Judaism at all. Just
I
because
think
a lot of
inherently tied to
Jews,
Judaism,
just because a
you
lot
just
of
have
Jews
to-
want to be able to self-determine, because Jews want to have a safe place in the world, does not mean. First of all, not all Jews are Zionist, and we're going off polls. I assume if the polls that
I
you're
think
referencing are the ones
if you
I know
went
of.
into, I think if you went into like late 19th century Ottoman Empire and said, "Oh, there's fucking Armenians who want independence. They need to be purged," like that might be a comparison that I could make.
But again, we keep picking like ethnicities, right? If I say Nazis, which is there
Armenian
were
independence movement, there were also Armenians, probably some at least, who wanted to remain part of the Ottoman Empire and were comfortable within it. It's like no comparison is going to be 100% accurate, but it is sort of at the top of my head the one that I could think of. And again, as mentioned before, and that is the really important part, in my opinion, is we know who Gato Formudai is. We know how he talks about Jews. We're trying to reestablish a way of sort of, hey, here is how this anti-Semite could have said this without sounding like an anti-Semite, which overlooks the fact that
of
he's
who
an
they are.
anti-Semite.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'm just saying, like,
That's
if we're looking at this statement in a vacuum, like, even without knowing this person's history, this statement is anti-Semitic to me by saying Jewish Zionists. So that's irrelevant. But
No,
I was just
to
saying,
clarify
deliberately-
but just to
we
clarify, singling
deliberately
them out
put
as
that in
a
there.
but to clarify,
He
singling them
deliberately
out as
put that
a
in there.
singularly, like isolating them as a singularly toxic force that needs to be purged from all positions of power and influence. That doesn't move the needle for you if you just said Zionist.
it depends on how you interpret that. If you're saying like they're the worst people in government, like if you're reading it that way, then yeah, I would say that's probably leaning more, because it's like, okay, there are 8 million other groups that are way worse than Zionists in our government. We've got MAGA, we've got oil lobbyists. Like if that is how you're reading it, then I would say yes, but I'm not necessarily sure that's how they're saying it.
Fair.
Okay.
Okay, next contestant, okay? It's from Cenk Uygur, our favorite. Kushner met with Netanyahu today for 4 hours. And Kushner, sorry. Kushner? I don't fucking know.
Kushner.
And he came out look, and he came out saying the US would back further military action in Gaza. Oh, so an Israeli goes to talk to an Israeli about how America should fund more genocide in Gaza on behalf of Israel? How fucking convenient. Who the fuck is Jared Kushner? He has no official role in the US government. Why is he promising our money to his favorite country on earth? Why is he giving guarantees on behalf of the American people that we'd love to fund more genocide? Who the fuck is in control of our government? It definitely isn't us. The Israelis who run the US government couldn't care less what the average American thinks. If Israel wants more war and genocide, you have to pay for it. Is this anti-Semitic?
Yes, because Kushner is not an Israeli citizen.
Yeah, I would say so.
It's pretty
Kushner
Kushner
Zog.
is not an Israeli.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely the Zog stuff. A singular Israeli citizen can influence U.S. foreign policy. That's just insane to me. Like, this is a level of delusion I aspire to never reach in my 80s. That's for sure.
Unfortunately, yeah, this is the one where I'm like, okay, first two paragraphs are like, and then last paragraph is like very clearly turns this into anti-Semitic, which is our government is literally run by Israel. Yeah, like it's that this is just undeniable.
Like I said,
I just want to point out that like I'm not exactly a big fan of Kushner, but just the fact that he calls him an Israeli even though he isn't is very significant in this regard.
Well, what's
We
really
don't just-
frustrating
yeah.
about this whole conversation is like, let's say it was even worse. Like Cenk was like, these Jews run our government. You know, it's just like totally unambiguous.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, but what are we talking about here? Like, take a step back. It's like, is this guy playing into anti-Semitism and making it worse by saying that Israel runs our government? Yes. Is it horrible that we have a non-government entity basically who is tied to the president discussing our foreign policy and deciding how money is spent to some degree? That's also terrible. And so while I hate that, you know, this is happening and I hate that anti-Semitism comes from it, it's also annoying that it's like, okay, well, now the conversation has become whether or not this is playing into anti-Jewish tropes and not, hey, this is a fucking insane level of corruption. And like, as much as I think we need to stop the spread of anti-Semitism, can someone talk about this in a non-anti-Semitic way so that we could talk about how fucked our government is right now? That should be the more important thing. And I say this as someone who will absolutely be on the receiving end of the rising tide of anti-Semitism. I think the corruption and the Gaza stuff is worse.
You're one of the good ones.
That's the horrible thing about this. You can actually do that. He had the choice to do that, but he didn't.
No, yeah.
He decided to insert that.
No, he's making it
that's
worse.
Establishment rhetoric. If you just talk about good old authentic American Trump corruption, that's an establishment then talking about. That's boring.
True.
Okay. Well, small break from our game. $20 from Das Vildanya. Oh, first of all, sorry. $20 from Dirty Deeds for free. Says, need more Kraut? Lighting up a cig just for you. Heart emoji. Thank you for the $20. Trib1, thank you for the 8-month membership. Wow. Sponsored by AIPAC and Jews. Well, thank you for your money. $20 from Das Vildanya. Can you ask Soy Pill, or really the panel, how AIPAC spending works outside of its spending through the United Democracy Project? Because I wonder if they actually know. It's a question to the panel.
I mean, that's a very broad question. How it works? Like, I would not be able to discuss the ins and outs of campaign finance and super PACs to the degree that I'm sure that I feel like Conduit made a video on this at one point. So I just know they dump a lot of money into ads. They dump a lot of money into campaigns, and it's not done through AIPAC. They have shell PACs. AIPAC is not a PAC. It's a public affairs committee. But yeah, to what specific degree? I'm not sure what that question's asking.
I can help if you want. So wait, they were asking about besides United Democracy Fund, like what else they do?
I'll read
Because
it again. How
AIPAC,
AIPAC spending works outside of its spending through the United Democracy Project.
Right. Well, AIPAC itself is they're like a lobby group. So they, before 2021, 22, they were 501c4, so they don't have to disclose who funds them. They used to spend not that much money at all, wasn't it? It was like less than 5 million on bipartisan lobbying. Like they wouldn't actually endorse candidates. It was after 2021, 22 where they created, first of all, AIPAC PAC, and then the much bigger one, the United Democracy Project, which is where all these kind of like tens of millions numbers come for, mostly for Democrat primaries. I don't know if the chatter is alluding to the fact that sometimes they've also been resorting to making these kind of like shell packs where they do have to disclose the funds at some point, but they don't have to do it before the campaign is over. So they make like a new pack that is just called Michigan Future or some shit like that, or it's like it seems to be nothing to do with no connection to AIPAC, but then they do the race and then they disclose their funding after the race, and it turns out, oh, that's a lot of AIPAC money. And also for United Democracy Project, they are a super PAC, which means they do disclose all their donors. Their FEC filing shows like a list of top donors. One of their top donors is just AIPAC, which again we don't know what like all the funders of AIPAC. And for United Democracy Project, which is the bigger one, I actually spent a good few hours looking through all the top names of the top donors, up to like down to ones who donate 5 million, down to 2 million, to 100,000. I didn't actually expect like almost all of them to be Jewish. Like I thought it was like yeah, it's, which is also the funny thing. Like it is basically like disproportionately or even majority Jewish money. But you know,
Fair enough. $2 from Lost Coyote to say George Soros killed my grandma. Sorry to hear that. $2 from the Trib One. How many Zionists are in our American politics? I guess it depends how you define Zionist, huh?
shit.
Super Duper Scooper for $2 replaced Zionist with globalists from the right.
Yeah.
And then a tier 1 membership for 1 month. Wow. Would Soy give this charity to All Lives Matter?
Yeah, I know a lot of people that say all lives matter that were very much not racist. It was just a like very obstinate reaction to the phrase Black Lives Matter. It's like, well, of course they do. All lives matter. And then I knew a lot of people that were saying it because they wanted to say white lives matter and they wanted to diminish BLM. Yeah, I unfortunately in the same way like. It's interesting to me. I believe everyone on this panel would probably be like, yeah, MAGA is basically freaking fascists, maybe even like Nazi comparisons at this point. But like when you meet MAGA like on the street, like most like of these Southern moms, they're not Nazis, but they are going along with like the like policies of mass deportations and the worst like parts of the rise of Trump's fascism. And it's like, okay, well, am I spreading anti like white Southern mom rhetoric by saying like MAGA are Nazis? Like kind of, but it's also just like what that movement is, and I really do want to like try to disentangle. Like, yes, Zionism is a belief. Yes, it's intrinsically very tied to Jewish history, but it is not inherent to being Jewish. And yeah, I think that's an important distinction to make.
I think that really
Um,
illustrates the problem we have right now, which is that I agree. Like it's the same thing when people always talk about the history of like Nazi Germany and like the fact that when Nazis were coming to power, they didn't talk about anti-Semitism all that much in the late 20s because they knew it was an election winner. The election winners were anti-communism and Versailles and rearmament and all that shit, right?
there's a
So,
comment that I can make
but
for you on that one as well, because that's something that I
okay,
researched became on the
can
street.
you put a
The
pin in it? Oh, you're go on.
the thing that I just DM'd to you, Lonerbox, sorry for interrupting, is this is what Conduit just sent me a link to this video. That just pointing out that Kremlin Kyle, sorry, Kyle Kalinske, I always call him Kremlin Kyle. He literally refers to the U.S. government as ZOG, as Zionist occupied. Yeah.
Speaking of Kyle Kalinske, well, first of all, Lonerbox, finish your thought, and then we
Yeah,
have the next entry. Which
because to me, and coming back to the Nazi analogy, like this was like the arguably even the more crucial problem wasn't so much the people who were dyed in the wool Jew haters who wanted to kill them all. It was the much larger portion of the German population that saw what was happening, that didn't necessarily want it all that much or didn't really like it even if at times, but they were willing to tolerate it for some kind of greater cause. Well, it's better than having a Bolshevik Germany, or it's better than losing to Europe again, like that kind of thing.
better
And this
than
was kind of
MAGA
like this
winning an
permission.
election, right?
Yeah, this was like the permission structure. And right now, it does definitely seem like a lot of people are just willing to kind of throw this issue under the bus or like under the carpet because MAGA, right? And I know that what's happening right now is that with a lot of these candidates, I don't think people like like the candidates right now, like the DSA ones, I don't know if I would call it like the majority of them anti-Semitic or say that they've crossed that threshold, but they are definitely starting to do things that I don't think would have been acceptable in liberal politics even just a few years ago, and definitely wouldn't be acceptable if they were coming from right wingers. If you just switched a couple of words around, you know, if you just switched AIPAC for Soros or if you switched Zionist for globalist, all else equal. So. I guess that would be the more interesting thing, is 'cause I think it's quite easy to find someone like, oh, Kyle Klinsky, he's obviously miles above the bar between, you know, okay Zionism or disagreeable Zionism, but then above that bar, there's rabid anti-Zionism or impermissible levels of anti-Zionism.
We keep bringing
But
up
I,
this
I
like
guess
if you
it's like,
switch the words, and it's like, well, yeah, but the words have different
yeah,
meanings, right? Like globalist is kind of a catch-all for people like part of a conspiracy that want to destroy your independence. Like that's really the only people that use the word on the right. Like on the left, a globalist would be like, yeah, I believe in international free trade, but you just almost never heard it that way from the right. Zionist is like again, like I said, it's too big of a tent of a word where it can mean a guy who believes that Jews should be safe to like whatever Israel is doing in Gaza right now is completely justified because of my Zionism. And so I think, yeah, if you switch these words, it could mean something different. But like that's because those words are completely different. It's like, oh, well, you said you hate spoons. Well, what if you replaced spoons with black people? Like not so funny anymore, is it? Like, well, it's not the same word. It's completely different.
I
okay.
I wanted
For
to
one, I
since
don't actually know if I've met these Jews who believe that war crimes are justified because of Zionism. I think most Jews actually who are Zionists, who even the ones who support war crimes, seem to accept that you can still be a Zionist and not support war crimes. But
Well, that's what I'm saying.
going beyond that,
It's both. You could
yeah,
be a Zionist who
but
doesn't support it. You could be a Zionist who does. Like this is like
yeah,
why this word is too
that's
big of a encompassing thing.
again, that's why like we don't say it for like we don't say Muslims when we talk about terrorists. We specify, which is why when we talk about Ben Gvir, we'd probably want to specify ultra Zionist or like a rabid Zionist versus like a more liberal one. But obviously for people like the ones that we're looking at right now, to them there is no good Zionist, right? There's no okay Zionist. It's all unacceptable. It's all genocidal. It's all racist to the core. It's all ethno-nationalist. It's all
The,
genocidal to the core. And
to,
these are the ones
to,
where we'd maybe go and consider them bigoted.
yeah,
But coming back to what you're saying, I don't think there's much of a meaningful difference between reflexively calling everything you don't like AIPAC and calling everything Soros, because
and
Soros
I
does
yeah,
fund
If
liberal
it's
things, and right
everything,
wingers who don't
and
like
I
them,
just
like
yeah.
for
asked.
example, wait,
Oh,
because I want to agree with Loner. Like if it's you're doing it for literally everything, that's when it starts to play into these anti-Semitic tropes, right? Where it's like, okay, Kyle Kalinske, or I'll say it, or any of these people, like noticing a pattern of AIPAC attacks on them. Okay, that's not necessarily anti-Semitic. That is literally they're attacking you and you're fighting back. But if I think this is the example of these Moroccan migrants coming into Spain, where there was some conspiracy about like Israel did it, and Kyle Kalinske just basically is like, yep. Israel. There was no reason for this, to my understanding, but correct me if I'm wrong. That is anti-Semitic. You're just like, yep, Jews control migration to Spain to do some like Israel project. Like that's when it becomes like, okay, you are just taking any problem you have and funneling it into this lens of like, and it's because of Israel. That's yeah.
since
I
since
guess
Lonerbox brought up Nazi Germany, interwar Nazi Germany, right? You brought that up briefly before.
I think I brought it up,
Mhm.
but yeah.
The Communist Party, particularly. Do you guys know that the Communist Party of Germany in the interwar period in the 1920s and 1930s was an overtly anti-Semitic organization?
I've heard of
Became
this, yeah.
one. Yes, so that started in 1923. Sorry, I have the page of the book open right here, so make sure that I don't get anything wrong. So in 1922, 1923, the German Social Democratic Party, as the Nazi party, rose in popularity and became more overtly anti-Semitic. The Social Democrats made the decision that they would oppose anti-Semitism in German politics. And that resulted in the reaction of the Communist Party of Germany accusing the Social Democrats of protecting the Jewish bourgeoisie. From then onward, the communists started launching campaign after campaign after campaign, framing the Social Democrats as the protectors of Jewish capital. Then, as the Nazi anti-Semitism, because the Nazi Party started becoming more popular as the 1920s came to an end and the 1930s came in, right? The communists jumped on board of that ever-growing popular anti-Semitism. In 1930, they purged the Communist Party of all high-ranking members who were Jewish. That's the Communist Party, not the Nazi Party. And starting in the 1930s, the Rote Fahne, the official newspaper of the Communist Party, started publishing articles like, Die Nazis sind die Helfer des jüdischen Kapitals. The Nazis are the actual helpers of Jewish capital. Continuously, like the wave of attack that they used, the method of attack they previously used against Social Democrats, accusing them of protecting Jewish capital, they then turned that to the Nazis, saying, "Oh yeah, the Nazis are actually secret, secret protectors." What's the name again for someone who loves Jews? File something file. Yeah.
Semiphiles? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh
So that was sort
yeah.
of like the attack line. I thought that is worth pointing out here because I reread that again before I came on that stream when Vic told me that we were streaming about this. And that feels very similar to
Oh
some of the things that is
yeah.
happening right now, to me, in a certain extent. Because if we're going to be very honest about who repopularized anti-Semitism, at least in the social media spaces, it was the
Oh
right, right?
yeah.
It was sort of the alt-right elements that moved around the magosphere, who popularized anti-Semitic memes at the
The
very least, and
Groypers,
sort
things
of
like that. Yeah.
yeah. And it does seem to have become increasingly more popular and more popular and popular. And I think that what we are seeing certain leftists do is in many ways a repeat of that. They're jumping onto something. They're seeing that this is something that worked, and they want to have a slice of that pie, more or less. And in particular, people like Karl Kalinske and Cenk Uygur and Anna, etc. They all, I think that is what is basically happening here. Wanted to let that in.
No,
If you
that's
want, I can since Lona brought it up, I can send Lona the book as well,
yeah,
if he
if
wants.
you want to send the book. And that's interesting information. I did not know that. I guess to a point brought up earlier, right? That Zionist is this big tent word and things like that, and it could mean this, could mean that, depending. And this is to soy pills specifically. Um, have you ever heard someone on soy, like if someone on social media or in these spaces gets called a Zionist, has it ever been positive?
In recent years, no, of course not. I mean, especially with like everything that's happened from October 7th forward, it's absolutely a pejorative.
Yes. When people, at least in these spaces, talk about Zionist and they're calling someone a Zionist, it's never someone who just wants a safe place for Jews to live, right? Like, I think it's a safe bet at this point. If someone's using the word Zionist, they're not meaning that. They're
Well, I think
meaning,
people attacking people with the word Zionist usually don't mean I hate people who want a safe place for Jews. But when Jews say I'm a Zionist, a lot of them are like, yeah, I do believe that there should be a safe place for Jews in the world. So it's like you've got people attacking people to say, I think you're disgusting for what Israel's doing to the Palestinian people. Zionists are gross. And then you have people like, yeah, I'm a Zionist. Of course, I think it's cool to live in Israel. Like so,
Yeah,
it's a big mix.
I think Brad Lander's a good example of that. He calls himself a liberal Zionist, and when he goes on like CNN and stuff, like Dana Bash refers to him as a Zionist and things, and I don't think they have necessarily negative connotations. But I do think, just from what I've seen online, is it's definitely adopted a negative connotation online. I'm curious for Loner or Kraut, do you guys think there's a way to critique Zionism that isn't
Yes,
anti-Semitic? Like, how would that
Yes.
look? So how would that
yes.
look? And like, what's kind of the difference there you see?
Um, one really obvious one is that they tried to build a country in a place that people already lived there. And they were so fucking, if you look at some of Herzl's diaries or his responses to Arab leaders at the time, he is so unbelievably naive in just saying like, yeah, we'll come, we'll bring our, we'll bring some like European farming methods and we'll build the place up and it'll be good for everyone. And there's no problem here. Okay. Like they were in denial and they were so blissfully unaware for like decades that there was this emerging Arab national group amongst these peasants, because they just, like the peasants at the time were just they were mostly illiterate. Like they didn't really care about politics and they lived in an empire. But when there was this emerging Arab national movement, the Zionists took decades to acknowledge that it was a thing. And then it wasn't even until like till the 20th century when they started to acknowledge that actually, okay, not only are they a group that lives here, they're a sizable group, and they don't actually like us, because why the fuck would they like us? It took them so long to get there. And obviously, yeah, if the idea you're going to have a Jewish majority in this place and you're going to build up your settlements in a way that doesn't just take a small enclave, like a small strip at the beach or anything like that. It's like you stretch out and go across the territory, leaving Arab majority area above and below you. And then you build a little triangle of settlements down in the south so that you can claim all of the Negev. Yeah, then obviously it's like you're asking for a fight. Like, and they should have known this. Some of them did, some of them very early on did, but most of them just denied it. They just thought there would be some kind of peaceful solution. They would just peacefully accept. Yeah, of course there are problems with Zionism, but
So
again, also
what's
I'm
Well,
what's
almost
the
actually I will also comment on the question because it's so fucking annoying when people say, and I'm not accusing you of doing this. I just when people do this thing where they say, "Oh, everyone just says that there's no way you can criticize Israel or Zionism without being called anti-Semitic." Like, yes, you can. It's actually quite easy,
well,
and
I was about
Zionists
to
do it all the time.
I was about to get on that
Yeah.
because you've said it a couple times in this discussion. You've said ultra Zionist, which is like, okay, this like modifier is implying like these are the people that are okay with like everything Israel's doing now in service of maintaining Israel. Like, is that how you would get around all of this? Like, if every lefty started saying ultra Zionist specifically to caveat and distinguish away from a lot of Jews who just want to feel safe, would this be more acceptable rhetoric? Would this like deviate most of the accusations of anti-Semitism? Like, is there like some better word that people could use?
Yeah, well, there should be, but you can't use ultra Zionist because, again, a lot of these people are already using ultra Zionists, just mean all Zionists. Because this is the kind of thing where someone will take a Ben Gvir quote and say, this is the whole country, even though he gets 5% of the vote, right? So, but yeah, no, there should be, in the same sense that between anti Zionism and, I don't know, rabid anti-Zionism, there should be a line that should be quite clear. And yeah, there are some problematic statements that can exist without making someone a rabid anti-Zionist in the same way that a Zionist can say maybe a couple of problematic things, but there's a fine line or there's a notable difference between them and like a rabid Zionist. Yes, I think this should be like a fair distinction
But you
between both
said
sides.
because they already
I
are
am
doing
I
this, it doesn't work. Like what like if they're gonna use it and what, like capitalize on any and all words that we use to try to distinguish people who want to do like abhorrent war crimes and people who just want a Jewish state, what do you do? Like, is there a word you
I
can
mean,
use?
well,
Like, you say,
I mean, I
okay, there are
say
ways Zionists do it, but like, what is the word that you can do where someone not like Gato Fumagate or whatever, but like say, I mean, unless you guys, I don't know, everyone thinks I'm an anti-Semitic tanky super now, but let's just say Wick is very clearly not anti-Semitic. Okay, Wick really wants to call out Israel. What word can Wick use in a 140 character tweet that is not Zionist to describe the actions of these Israel's government as terrible? I think you look at a lot of the
Israel's government right now is terrible. Why would I need
you can
a
call them right-wing
different word?
Zionists, or you
Yeah.
can just call them right-wing
Right-wing
Israelis, or just
Israelis.
even right-wingers, or you can call them Kahanists. So like, yeah,
Mm.
obviously, like even ultra-Zionist, I think is fine because again, it has to be. I'm talking about what is acceptable for good faith people and not fucking retards. So like, if anything's going, whatever, it can't stop other people misusing it. But yeah, Kahanist is a good one because that's what Ben Gvir is. That's what Smotrich is. If you want to say Netanyahu, he's a right-winger. But it's just like we do this with any other nation. Like we know that not every American is Trump, so. Or every pro-American is Trump, if you want to put it that way.
I guess the issue there is like if you were to say, MAGAists or Trumpists, like obviously this is tied to him, but I think a lot of people I think you see politicians that people will say, hey, they're calling out Israel. Look, they're saying Netanyahu's government is bad, but like they're very careful not to use certain words. I think, of all people, they're like the most careful about not being anti-Semitic. And it seems like they're willing to say like, yeah, if Netanyahu didn't get elected, but someone else did, or like someone else doing similar things, but it wasn't them. Like they're allowed to play that defense. Well, I called out the people doing those things, but now there's a new person in government. It's like, well, you weren't really criticizing the idea. You had the scapegoat of like it was this guy in government, and now he's gone. So now what? Like, are you actually critical of it? People get wary of when you just like, oh, it's the right wing. That's the problem, and not, well, there's a huge chunk of Israel that's okay with what's happening now. Like,
Oh, you mean
how do
you mean like criticizing the very concept itself? Like, Lona is obviously more educated on how Israel came to be, etc., and the ideology of Zionism than I am. I'm not very familiar with it, but if like the thing that social society, if that question is still open for me, I would just say I'm a liberal, and if you're, at least in my conception of what liberalism is, there isn't really much space for nationalism. I'm not don't really like nationalism, and Zionism is inherently nationalistic. And from that point of view, that like if that is something that you wanted to approach it from that point of view, I can reject it very much so, because at least the liberals, from in the terms of what I consider myself, one pursues internationalism, the crossing of borders, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
one of
So
the
yeah,
oh,
in that
go ahead,
regard.
Social Society, please.
I was going to say, yeah, that's kind of closer to maybe what I meant by my question. I didn't mean necessarily criticisms of the idea of Zionism itself, but how people can levy these criticisms without being called anti-Semitic. And I do think Brad Lander is a good example of this. Like, he is Jewish, refers to himself as a Zionist, is like unapologetically pro-Israel and all of these things, and like has been outspoken about like the Nova Fest protests, like all of these things. But then anytime he kind of
Yeah.
gets criticisms, anti-Semitism is the
Yeah.
first thing
Here's
to say.
here's the
I
problem.
don't think you have to be nice either. What is the fat idiot called with the glasses? The Israeli, I think, interior
Ben Gvir,
minister. Yeah. I don't think it would be in any way anti-Semitic to even refer to that guy as a fascist at this
yeah,
point.
he's
Well, he is a
well,
fascist, so
Yeah,
yeah,
he
that's
is a
fine.
fact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
And what's
yeah.
funny
In
is
some
not
cases,
only do most Israelis think that or something adjacent, Israeli right wingers mostly don't like Smotrich because Smotrich does things that Jews actually consider to be quite taboo, like running around the fucking Temple Mount waving flags and making a fucking ass of yourself just to provoke conflict. Like, even most Israeli right wingers don't like that behavior. But, Netanyahu, scumbag, needs to keep his shitty government together.
I,
To answer your question, Soipil, I don't know who. Maybe you could tell me who you're referring to as an example, like someone who says they criticize the Netanyahu government, etc., but they're
I think the
still
most recent
permissive
person I
of
could
like
think of was maybe like
huh?
McMorrow said stuff like this, but I'd have to go back and look of like the
Mallory,
people.
like
Mallory
okay,
McMorrow,
sorry,
yeah,
go
it
on.
was like the one I can think of that
Yeah,
comes to mind, but I might be wrong even on that. It's like certain recent candidates where like, how do you distinguish the guy who's saying like, hey, Israel is doing terrible things from the other candidate? Well, the other candidate's usually the other Democratic primary candidate's usually saying something like, I condemn Netanyahu. Maybe they won't call the Gaza actions genocidal, but they'll say like Netanyahu's government is despicable, or Ben Gvir is despicable, or Smotrich is despicable, right? Like these are the people that are kind of like, all right, you've not really been voting in ways that would indicate that you really truly believe this, but you're kind of scapegoating certain members of the government, saying, "Oh, well, I disagree with those people," but then you won't like try to hold
okay,
the
okay.
Israeli government accountable if it comes to a House vote, that sort of thing.
All right, so I mean, and that's just like someone like Hillary, even like, because Hillary doesn't like Netanyahu at all, and she doesn't like settlements or anything. But like a lot of these Democrats like are not going to freeze all of the weapon sales to Israel. There's no way. Um, sorry, but my question to you is that roughly what you're referring to? Like that kind of
Yeah,
like
basically, yeah.
yeah, okay. Can you share a political movement with those people?
Can I?
Yeah, could you? Would you be
Yeah, I
comfortable
do.
sharing a political movement? Yeah, okay, yeah. Are you more or less or equally comfortable sharing a movement with someone who thinks Israel and Zionism is a cancer on the planet? They are controlling American politics, and it's actually based when Hezbollah fires rockets at them.
Well, I mean, saying I rapidly oppose Zionism and we need to do everything in our power to hold Israel accountable is one thing. Saying it's based when Hezbollah fires rockets, I guess that's when I start to be like, eh. But it's funny because like, look at the two things we're weighing right now. It's like, am I okay with enabling Israel to continue their actions in Gaza, which is going to kill far more people than Hezbollah? Or am I pro Hezbollah, which is like, okay, socially taboo, normative, or like whatever the norm is, like you look like you're pro terrorist, and yet the other group that you're referring to here, which I already said, like, hey, I share a group with these people, it's, hey, I'm cool with what Israel's doing in Gaza, killing tens of thousands of people. So like, I'm unfortunately comfortable with both. The norm breakers are going to look worse because they're supporting Hezbollah, and that's disgusting, but it's like, it is the status quo to support Israel, which is doing horrible things right now. So one is actually utility wise worse, but it depends on what they would then do if they had power. That's a little different.
Yeah, and I think probably why is it just comes to a complete disconnect in like reality with how this conflict works. The problem is that like America is not enabling Israel to do anything in Gaza. Like, you understand that, right? You understand that what enables Israel in Gaza is the fact that there's another military on the other side that has never said they're going to give up and literally tried to kill as many Jews as possible in Israel on October 7th and said they want to do it again and said, if you give us any breathing room, if you give us any space to rebuild our forces, we will do the same thing again. That's what's enabling Israel to keep bombing Gaza. It's the fact that there's literally another fucking army on the other side that's trying to that's trying to destroy the entire country, that does not want to stop fighting. So America can say, stay within the rules of war, and they can, people like Biden can pressure Israel Israel to send more aid into the Gaza Strip, and they can do things like they can
They
make
could
sure that there's
stop
an
weapons
evacuation in Rafah.
sales to say, hey, you guys are
Well,
going too
you can say
far. You
yeah,
could
you can say stop weapon sales, and some countries did do that. But then obviously, if you stop weapon sales, then what you're also doing is you're stopping your leverage. For one, I don't know
what's the point of
why
leverage if we're not
taking
using it? I don't understand. I guess we're
well,
gonna get
America,
into like
but
a
America,
genocide conversation, but
but America does use the leverage. Biden used leverage. Israel did things they did not want to do. The government of Netanyahu did not want to pause before going into Rafah. He wanted to go in with no plan to evacuate the million plus people who were living there. Netanyahu did want to use 2,000 bombs, 2,000-pound bombs that Biden froze. He did want to use 500-pound bombs that Biden
where's
froze.
that gotten us though? Like, is the consequence of how bad it's gone now like that much different than if we had said, hey, we're using all of our leverage right now in one big fell swoop? Like, I'm not quite sure what the alternative history that we'd be looking at is if we had decided to try to stop arms sales like 4 months into this than now where it's
If
like,
America,
okay,
if America stopped arms sales, which particular arms does America give Israel that you're like most upset about?
I'm not specifically upset about any. I'm saying we give them
Okay, do you think they
weapons and
should stop
money
giving?
and we
Okay,
should.
should they stop giving Israel JDAMs?
I don't know if they give them JDAMs.
Okay, should they stop giving Israel like guided? The
Why,
problem
why,
is
why
that it
are we?
depends on
Why
which
I don't
technology
know
you're
if this is
giving
like
them
a
because
gotcha to like hyper focus on a specific thing. I'm
well,
just saying we could have used our leverage earlier, and I'm not quite sure what would have happened had we like. It doesn't seem like our leverage was all that useful up until now. You're saying like, well, there was a red line here, there was a red line there. They crossed it eventually, but like, did this really change ultimately the consequences of what happened in Gaza to the point of like, well, oh, it would have been way worse had we not done this. Maybe it would have been way worse faster. Maybe they would have capitulated a little bit and said, oh, well, maybe we can't go as hard as we can. I mean, I'd like to see evidence for either of those examples, but
yeah, okay. So for one thing, I really I would prefer that Israel used guided munitions, which are more expensive and does entail some American funding, as opposed to just using fucking like dumb bombs and using unguided munitions that
yeah,
are
I'd
just
rather them use them than a
much cheaper and
nuke.
much more
But what if
destructive.
we could stop them
Yeah,
from doing that altogether with our leverage? I don't know if that's the
doing
case, but
anything.
I'm
Hold
saying
on.
You cannot stop it. I don't know why Israel's the only country people say you cannot stop a country from fighting with people who want to kill them all. You can't do it.
what
At the
we
end
do
of the
this all the
day,
time. What are you
America
talking
can
about? We could. That's how we form peace plans between warring countries. There's like civil
you
wars that
form
we've
peace
stopped.
plans
Like
when
what? Like
yeah,
which
you
one?
form peace plans like when the other side of the conflict is willing to come to the table and agree to something that is actually realistic. So the PLO, well, yeah, America helped there because they helped the PLO agree to get out of Lebanon, and then Israel didn't continue in Lebanon until the PLO were destroyed, the quote unquote the hard way. But Hamas are still to this day they're still just demanding, yeah, we're we'll warehouse our weapons, maybe we won't you'll have no way of knowing if we've done all of it, and we'll only do it after Israel leaves the entire strip, so there's literally no force there that can actually hold us accountable to our disarmament. Like yeah,
Or if you're
Hamas have
saying
made sure
America
like
could solve Israel-Palestine with their leverage, I agree. I mean, no one's been able to do that in decades. I'm saying like maybe we could have stopped the starvation tactics. Maybe we could have stopped some of the worst war crimes. Like there are plenty of things that could have happened here. That doesn't mean, hey, if America had just stopped arms sales, it would be a peaceful, happy-go-lucky place with Trump Gaza #1 strip hotels. Like I'm not implying that. I'm saying that we did not effectively use the leverage, and the people that are criticizing people who aren't making those
Just
votes
to
are.
yeah, but just to tie this back into how this came up. You were asked, and this is to you, Soy Bill. You were asked whether you're okay with sharing a party with people like Hillary Clinton and Slotkin, who are okay with giving funds and arms to Israel, right, or at least to some extent. Um, and then you were asked, okay, are you also okay with being in a party or being in a political coalition with someone who thinks Hezbollah is based, right? And things like that. You made the comparison that these were similar, right, in nature, right? And that one has more of a stigma than the other. And that's why we're being talking about this now, I think. So I just wanted to
but it
ground
Right.
sounds
it.
like Soy Pill is not actually too sure on whether one is more destructive than the other, right?
That's why, yeah, that's why
Because at least the
you're
Hezbollah
making the
supporter might
points that
freeze
you
all of
are.
Israel's arms, and that somehow would reduce the suffering more than the pro-Hezbollah guy. Is that roughly what you're getting at?
No, I was trying to say which is worse in terms of like, yeah, if we remove all of the stigma of like, I know this is ridiculous to say, but like of a person saying, "Oh, I love Hezbollah," it's like, okay, like which of these persons supports the worst act? People that are willing to continue to enable Israel to do what they're doing in Gaza are causing more death and harm, but that doesn't mean like if they're not supporting terrorists, but it's like, okay, now we're getting to the argument of like what is a terrorist. If the contention is okay, but could the people that do support Israel this way or aren't willing to fund or to vote against arms shipments, would they not have been able to stop said things? Therefore, they're not actually in support of all of the death and destruction that's happening in Gaza. I think that's a different argument, and I'm not quite sure that's
Okay,
the case.
that would be a really clever argument if if Hezbollah were not as destructive as they are. I guess maybe we don't know, but like Hezbollah in Syria helped Assad for the entirety of the war. I think maybe within the first year of the war, Hezbollah were in the Syrian armed forces, plugging gaps, filling up upper positions because they had more experience, helping them with logistical issues, and actually taking a pretty useless, corrupt army and turning them into a fighting force that helped Assad get rid of the rebels and
Okay,
consolidate
but you
power and
talked about
sit there
this in
for
the
like
context of, I'm not
he,
disagreeing with any of that. What I'm saying is you talked about this in the context of people that think it's not Hezbollah just is super cool, but Hezbollah is cool when they bomb Israel, right? Which is like, okay, I think that's disgusting that these people think that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but you're asking me to compare this to people who are like, I'm not going to do anything when Israel does something to Gaza. That's what I'm
Okay,
comparing.
what does
So
Hezbollah do for Lebanon then? Hezbollah murders political opponents in Lebanon. Hezbollah goes into villages and even into the capital and goes into people's houses and goes into
I'm not
civilian
trying to say
areas and builds
Hezbollah is
military
good here.
positions. I know, but we're talking about who causes the harm. And the fact is, there is no Israeli destruction in Lebanon if Hezbollah stops shooting at Israel. It's very, very simple. Israel and Lebanon
Okay.
after the 48 war did not really fight barely ever until the PLO were there. So if Lebanon doesn't attack Israel, Lebanon doesn't get attacked, really, apart from like a dozen Fedayeen or something. Same thing with Gaza. If you pull all American arms from Gaza, then what you're doing is there's no more prospect of any Democrat being able to twist their arm and say, oh, you have to do this or that, otherwise we're going to freeze this weapon shipment, or we will freeze this weapon
But
shipment
we
because you didn't
haven't,
do this,
have
and
we
we'll
ever done
freeze it.
this? Like to the degree that
Yes,
which it actually
Democrats have done that.
effectively like changed their prescriptions in Gaza?
You
Like,
are you're an American exceptionalist, Soypil. You think America has more power over this conflict than they do. The fact is that no amount of American arm twisting or arms freezes or threats or finger wagging is going to stop a country from fighting a militant group that is trying to kill them all.
I didn't
The
say it
people who
would stop the
enable
war. I said it would necessarily stop some of their worst actions potentially, and like the fact that we're not even doing that is like saying something, right?
So
well,
Phil, the
except
thing
they
is,
Thank
are.
you for the
Israel's
raid.
initial
I think I
plan
missed it, but thank you.
Israel's
thi-
initial plan was to not even send aid into Gaza. The Biden administration had to convince them to do that quicker than they were actually planning to. They were gonna probably, and again, that's like that was a matter of weeks difference of potentially getting aid. We know the difference as well because look at the difference even between Biden and Trump. We know that those 2,000-pound bombs and those 500-pound bombs, like hundreds or even thousands of them, those shipments were immediately renewed by Trump when they were frozen by Biden, and then they were dropped on Gazan buildings. We know that when it comes to humanitarian aid, the GHF happened under Trump. And remember, the one time the IPC decided that it was actually time to call it a famine in Gaza, the one time the UN was willing to say that was under Trump with the GHF, and that was when you started to actually see with the health ministry publishing these dozens of people every week who would starve to death with because they couldn't get aid. That was a difference that happened under Trump. But we're assuming that there's like a version of this war where Hamas has put 500 kilometers of tunnel all the way through the Gaza Strip, has basically turned the entire place into a fucking war zone, into an urban war machine. And we're excited that there's a nice way to do this war that Democrats can convince Israelis to do. Yeah, maybe the Biden administration could have done more, but if you want to achieve that, then there could maybe be an activist group that instead of going uncommitted Holocaust Harris and wearing fucking keffiyehs and waving around fucking Hezbollah flags, they could have said, we have some conditions, make your arms shipments conditional on this, this, and this, and this that's actually feasible, rather than this, well, America has the power to end the war, America has the power to just turn this into, I guess, one of the nice wars.
You're arguing against like 6 different positions, not all of which I take, and I'm a little like that was like a whole like Lonerbox Israel spiel. But what I said was, hey, I think there's entirely many things that could be done with leveraging our power, and like these small little caveats here and here are ultimately not making a big difference to the Gazans. And the idea that we can like make some big push of like, hey, we're going to stop all arms shipments, that doesn't mean the war ends tomorrow, but it's like you yourself are talking about, hey, look, Biden was able to do some of these things were better for Gaza and ultimately didn't affect much because these weren't giant leverages. We didn't leverage the entirety of weapon shipments. We did small little caveats here, small little caveats here, and even those were still marginally better. But like, isn't that to the point that we could be doing way more with a giant arms embargo then?
What? Okay.
Okay,
Would?
for one,
Wait,
I
wait,
don't
wait.
know,
I
but like,
want to
Hold
take
on,
that
hold
one.
on.
I want to
sorry,
take
go
that. I want to take.
Kraut, go
How
ahead.
do you imagine a giant arms embargo would go?
I don't know what the point of like me saying let's go through this hypothetical. So like I assume that Lonerbox, correct me if I'm wrong. We do this. Let's say we have the votes for it. We cut off all the arms. Israel says, "Oh, okay, you might do this, and we, will capitulate if you don't." To whatever some demands you have, like maybe we need to put more aid in, maybe we have to stop these like starvation tactics, maybe we have to make it so whichever third-party organizations who've declared this a genocide, whatever criteria those have been met, like we have to stop doing the things that are meeting these criteria. This would make it marginally better or significantly better. And if they don't, then they just go do whatever they want, I guess, and it becomes worse because they're using bigger bombs. Is this kind of like how this hypothetical plays
That
off?
is exactly. Yeah, that is exactly what happened because it's not a hypothetical. That's exactly what you did in Yugoslavia in 1992. You just said, okay, arms embargo, no more weapons go in until you guys have figured it out.
To
And
Serbia or Albania, or what do you mean?
to everyone, you told it to the Serbs, the Bosnians, and the Croatians that arms embargo on all of you. No one gets weapons. Didn't end the war. The war got worse as a result of the arms embargo.
I would have to look into this more specifically, but also
it's
it
also
gets a lot more
it's also
complicated
like
because we like sent our troops in and like affected the war significantly, right? But was that in
You sent
reaction to
your
that, or
troops in 1994 as a reaction to the genocide when the
right?
Serbs started bulldozing the Bosnians into mass graves.
Right.
okay, for one thing, just a couple of small differences. I mean, 2,000 pound bombs, or 1,800 of them specifically, and 1,700 500 pound bombs are not actually small differences. Trump, when he came into office, Israel froze aid shipments into Gaza for 3 months. Okay. It was like 2 weeks in one area of Gaza under Biden. Okay. The difference between 3 months of no food and 14 days, come on. It's an enormous difference. The difference between evacuating Rafah of 1 million plus people before you go in to attack the place is an enormous difference. If you're gonna know what would happen, um, do you know which faction Israel wants
So
America to
I'm
stop
confused. So
to
first of
cut off
all,
from Israel? Like,
so the
Okay,
implication here is like
just
had
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I'm gonna give you the mic, soy pill. But we are, I do want to get this back onto anti-Semitism at some point. But this is useful information. $100 from Slicky D to say liberalism is not optional. True. 1,000 ARS, which is like $10, I think. I don't know. Hunter Biden 2028. Fair enough. $5 from Bad Company. Spiel equals the reality. I love how Soy Pill can just refuse to engage with the facts. LOL.
got me.
Does he?
Jesus.
$5 from OV959. Wick, can anyone on this panel try to restate Soy Pill's position? It's always, I am not saying that. Let's give it to Lonerbox. Can you restate Soy Pill's position? I'm curious.
On this question about whether you could share a movement with the pro
Yes,
Hezbollah
yes,
guy or the Slotkin guy, yeah, it
yes.
seems to be that Slotkin is in this position where she says that she condemns Netanyahu and she thinks there should be some arms twisting here and there, but she's not going to do an arms embargo, and that means she might even, as a utilitarian, potentially be enabling more suffering than the pro Hezbollah person who would do an arms embargo.
Yeah, no, that's
Is
exactly
that
right.
an accurate representation?
Okay, who in Israel do you think wants to separate from America most? What faction?
This is
Ben Clear.
yeah,
It's
is
the right
this the
wing.
far
It's
right?
Ben
Yeah.
Gvir. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a very good reason for that. Is because Israel does not need American weapons to kill every person in Gaza. Right? Bombing, carpet bombing is not expensive, which is why like the Tokyo firebombing or the firebombing of Dresden, which killed like tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people in the space of a couple of days. These were done with like Lancaster bombers and B-29s and cheap bombs that don't have incredibly expensive guidance chips inside them. Israel has the bombs. What they struggle with, maybe, or with American technology, is the guidance systems, the Iron Dome, the drones, where you can have a small munition that takes out like 4 soldiers and not the 10 people who are within a few meters of them. Like that's what Israel gets from America. That's like the special technology that American-Israeli cooperation gets. As soon as America stops with arms to Israel, then people like Ben-Gvir, Netanyahu, that's the leash off. There's no more fucking grumpy Democrats going to come in and start like twisting our arm to do things. Well, okay, everyone's calling it genocide anyway. Maybe we can actually just fucking do one right now.
And at that point,
and
point, would we not say, okay, not only are we reducing arms, we're also going to sanction you for being even more genocidal and using these indiscriminate bombs and just killing civilians like in mass, like it was World War II. Like, yeah, like there are other things that would happen after this, but the idea that our leverage stops at the weapons is not really salient to me. We don't give weapons to Russia. We have leverage over Russia right now. We're sanctioning the fuck out of their economy, right?
Yeah, and what's Russia do? They're continuing to do more damage, and they're doing it actually in a much more indiscriminate way than
So
Israel.
would they do it less if we sent them arms and said, all right, like we'll give you the best ones and we'll take away the best ones if you like this doesn't really apply, right?
It depends on which arms. If the arms are just like the weight of bombs, like 2,000-pound bombs or 500-pound bombs, yeah, I'm for freezing those. But if it's like guidance systems so that they can actually accurately target, and like say there's a target in Israel that's like, okay, they're saying there's a Hamas
No,
commander,
I'm saying
he's
what
in
if we
this
gave
building,
targeting
we're doing it
systems
with
to
or without.
Russia so they could kill fewer civilians because whatever, like
Why
they're
would
literally
you?
exactly. No, I'm not
How-
saying we should actually do this. It's fucking
Yeah.
insane. But I'm like
but
the
Russia-
idea that
Russia-
like our
Russia-
leverage
Hold on,
stops at
Hold on. You're all
arms
talking over
shipments.
each other.
I'm
What
a little-
Soypill here is just saying, to translate, Soypill is saying that the argument you're making is that we, by giving them the guidance systems, we actually decrease the harm done, and things like that. So why not give Russia the guidance system so they could kill less civilians in Ukraine? That's
Because Russia's not an ally. Russia is not an
Also,
ally.
no, it's not. It's more because Russia like will literally aim past the military, and
Right,
past
they'll
the front line
intentionally
towards
target
cities.
civilians, right? So it's
Yes,
like giving
okay,
them more accurate
and
bombs is
Israel-
irrelevant. Israel does this too.
You think Israel's just targeting civilians?
Not just targeting civilians, they absolutely target civilians on purpose. I've read several articles about like, hey, like there's no other explanation as to why they did this thing other than they were intentionally targeting civilian infrastructure, right?
Yes, I understand. Yes, and UN reports have been saying this for decades, and then a year or 2 years after the war, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and they're to solve their own internal political problems, will say, actually, yeah, those police officers that the Goldstone report said were all civilian, actually, the majority of them were our soldiers. Sorry about that, guys.
So
Yeah, that's
because
what
of that
happened.
specific
Because
article, we're implying this is never happening, ever.
this always happens, as in the sense that like
Every single
in the
civilian
sense-
targeting is all fake from Hamas. Is that what you're saying?
That's
Yeah, that
exactly
just can't be
what I
true.
said.
It
No,
sounds like what you're implying.
happens-
If it's not, please correct me.
Okay, so
can say
what
always.
actually happens is that going to Gaza and just calling some people, first of all, Hamas actually have like a public, I can show you as well, they have like a public announcement at the beginning of the war where they say, and they've said in the past, that if you are a local Gazan and you get contacted by an org or by someone from the outside, you have to refer that to the authorities. And they also have instructions saying, do not say this, do not say there were militants, do not say where the resistance is operating from. Say everyone who died, if there's casualties, was an innocent civilian. If you say otherwise, UN officials have literally been booted out of Gaza for saying the opposite. So you can't just go to a random fucking Gazan. Were there militants in that building across the road? Because if they say yes, they're going to get executed, or they're going to have their entire life fucking destroyed, or they're going to get hunted down by Hamas. It's not a good methodology.
What
and the UN
percentage of
keeps
the
doing it.
80,000 dead people are Hamas?
I don't know, and you don't know either, but we're
don't.
talking about whether or not Israel targets civilians. So when we're saying, I don't doubt that they have hit civilians. I don't doubt that soldiers or criminals within the IDF have targeted civilians. But the question is whether or not as a matter of policy, the IDF is just like from the top down saying,
I didn't say anything
there's
about
a
top
building
down.
there,
So,
civilians.
well,
Okay, so when you say they're targeting civilians, do you think that what you're just saying there are some war criminals in the IDF that are disobeying their own rules?
There are, a non-insignificant amount of war crimes committed either by, higher ups who are like sergeants or like even like the lowest people. And when these sorts of things happen, the responsibility is always obfuscated of, well, there's no order for this to happen, or yeah, that guy did that, but we didn't punish him, and it's just something we overlooked, or that was an accident. Like these are civilians being targeted. And then when the UN or any of these people come in and say, hey, like the policies that you have are deliberately targeting men, women, and children, civilians, starving men, women, and children, civilians, like I guess maybe in 10 years we'll come out and hear, actually, this was all just made up by Hamas. But I'm a little more inclined to believe these like independent human rights organizations than I am like, what organization is disputing this other than Israel and the US?
Yeah, well, that's the problem is I just don't really know how many years we have to watch these international orgs fuck up until we just admit that they actually aren't that reliable in these situations. Like they've literally fabricated
But
or like believed
what's
fabricated
your
evidence.
counter
They've
evidence to
literally
this other than Israel? Like, right, like you're believing like Israel doesn't let the reporters
you
in, so it's like the only people you have to say, well, this isn't true is Israel, right? Like
Well,
that's
can I
I
ask
just
you
find like
just
I find that
just
incredulous just on the
yeah.
basis of like, okay,
it
who
would be
do we
incredulous
believe?
if
The
that was my
people who are being
opinion. It
accused of
would
the
be
thing, or all of these people from independent nations who are saying, hey, based on the evidence and are scholars of what constitutes genocide and what constitutes war crimes, hey, these are the things that are being genocidal, and this country has genocidal intent. And yes, I admit Smotrich and Gavir, and they're in the government, and they are in charge, and they are genocidal and fascist. And if we didn't give them weapons, they would be bombing even more people. And if Joe Biden didn't have this leverage, they'd kill millions with even more cover bombing. But they don't target civilians. Like this is ridiculous. Like I don't know what the fuck you're saying.
again the fact that you just said carpet bombing is betraying the fact that you have no fucking idea what
You
you're
said
talking
it.
about.
You
With
said
greatest
carpet
respect,
bombing. You talked
I
about it
didn't
like
say
it
that.
was in
I
Dresden.
said
Has
I
become
said
a different
carpet
thing.
bombing in Dresden, but it's not happening in Gaza.
You were
That's not carpet
comparing
bombing.
it to that. You were comparing it like this is what would happen had
I
Joe
wasn't
Biden not
comparing it.
used
I
his
was
leverage. You said if we didn't give them
okay.
these things, this is what they would be doing. It's like, okay, well, it sounds like they clearly wanted to be doing these even more genocidal civilian targeting things. Like this is what I'm saying.
Well, I know that people like Ben Gavir might want to do that, but again, when it comes to, first of all, when you say all the human rights orgs and all the scholars, first of all, you are exaggerating like the multiplicity of sources there. They are all taking from the same source. They all use the same methodology. All they can do is call the IDF. The IDF will say nothing, or they'll say militants, but they're not going to share their intelligence with a fucking UN org. Like no country would do that. And then second of all, they go to Gaza and then they just ask some people, and they ask people who are living in an authoritarian regime under the thumb of Hamas, and they'll literally fucking die if they admit that there was a militant in a strike next to them. So that's
So are they
all
all
the
like
scholars,
so
all the organizations,
compromised
all of
like
them.
that
They're all going,
it's like,
I don't
hey,
know, Soito.
their
Soito, I don't know
methodology
what
is
to
so
tell you.
flawed that
I
you're
don't,
the one who's like figured it
Is
out. But like
Soito,
is it
they're
I
like,
don't know
oh,
what to tell
anti-Semitic?
we
you.
love asking
Just real quick,
these.
and I want to
Soito,
ask
I don't,
Lonerbill. I want to ask
yeah.
Lonerbox this: is it anti-Semitic that soy pill is sweeping for these organizations that you claim are fabricating evidence? Is that anti-Semitism?
No.
He didn't claim they were fabricating, right? You said they were misled by the authoritarian oppressed
I'm saying that they
civilians.
literally have no way of getting like the truth of the matter, and they just conclude with, and they conclude anyway. And they even admit this. They'll just say, "Well, if there's doubt, we'll just say civilian until we're proven otherwise." And then we just have to, because literally, when we count the dead, we are only doing it on Hamas's terms. So the reason that I know, for example, when Amnesty said this strike on the Al Dus family killed like 15 people and destroyed this building, and there was no evidence of any military target anywhere. The fact is, like, they put out the report, and I just have to wait for 2 years until Islamic Jihad starts publishing a drip feed of their dead commanders. Like, oh, one of that guy's called Al Dus. Oh, he died in the same place on the same day. Oh, he was actually in that strike. Shit. Oh well. Like, we literally are just doing it on their terms, but they could have hidden that information forever, and we would always assume civilian by these human rights org standards. So that's one issue. The second one. The second one is just to say that it doesn't seem like we disagree that war crimes are taking place in Israel and that they have and that they've happened. It's just the question about like there's only so many war crimes that the U.S. government can stop by doing arms embargoes or by twisting Israel's arm. I don't understand why we think that America can stop all this from happening.
Well, so
That's the
you
bit we're
were
coming
talking
back
about
to.
how Biden used what people would criticize as like paltry or like insignificant or insufficient leverage to do, you would say, significant things like oh, like we stopped bigger bombs from coming in, we stopped the 3 months worth of like aid being stopped, and the idea that we couldn't do even more by trying to leverage all of our shipments at once. I just don't buy that is some like frivolous, a futile task that we could go
They
on.
could have done, but the issue with politics is you have to make them do it. You have to make the government do it, and you have to have an activist group that's willing to actually be smart and to use that pressure and to achieve those things. But instead, they just seem to be quite happy to throw the election for Trump to come in. So they didn't seem to care all that much that
Okay,
Harris
but
lost. It didn't
now
seem like
when
there was
we're
much of a
talking
difference.
about the party, like this all came back from like, who are you more comfortable being in a coalition with? Like, I'm very comfortable being a coalition of people who are willing to say, I want to stop Israel from doing what they're doing. I want to form a coalition in the House or the Senate and try to make this vote happen. If we're talking about people are like, oh my God, like if we had a fucking politician who's up there like, God, I love Hezbollah. Yeah, I'd be pretty fucking scared. But that's also because the status quo of being like Israel, like, comes to me in my dreams and I love everything they're doing is like not nearly so bad as saying like, oh, I love Hezbollah. So
You
I
think
don't
it's just
know.
like it's a silly status quo, like it's just because we've just believed that terrorism bad, Muslim terrorists bad, that we just
No,
seem
I
to think
don't
it's worse
know.
when
The
Hezbollah does
terrorism
it,
is
or
fucking disgusting and awful. It's good that we recognize this as evil. I'm saying the things that we are used to that we do, like when you look at like any of and all of our policies that are like, well, we've done this forever, and that's why people don't necessarily oppose it. Like to come in and say like, let me be a preachy vegan for a second. If I supported a politician who was like, let's fucking like make it like fascism illegal to eat meat, right? Like we're committing this, like mass killings of animals 24/7 all the time, tens of millions, if not billions of animals. And it's like, do I view like you Lonerbox, who I assume is not a vegan, as just as bad as someone who wants to just like Hezbollah supporter? No, but that's because of the status quo. It's not because I don't think one is worse. That's what I'm saying there. Like, I think what Israel's doing is worse, but I think the degree to which we support them, the degree to which we have this relationship and back and forth, the degree to which Israel is not like, just randomly doing suicide bombings, that is not doing like these frivolous, attacks like October 7th, which is like, what did this really accomplish, right? Like, that is the status quo built in of like, okay, utility wise, this might be worse, but like, they're not doing the same types of bad things that we condemn far worse.
Okay, so for
You want
one,
to get
I
other
just like
people in as well. I mean, I feel like, right, but this is good. Keep going, Lonerbox.
yeah, okay. So the fact is that when it comes to Hezbollah, like the reason, well, for one, every single strike they ever do and have done is indiscriminate. They fire rockets they can't aim. So when it
Should
comes to
we
the
give them
morality,
laser
it's like
guided
just because we
bombs?
have no, because what do you think their goal is? That's why we don't make the argument for Russia either. Because with Israel, at the very least, and I don't think you would deny this, it is actually probably a good thing to try and destroy Hamas. No or yes?
Yes, but in service of doing
Okay,
that,
that's
if you're
fine.
going to blow up
So
Gaza to the degree we have, I would say no.
okay, so at least though, at the very least, even if I go all your way and say that they destroyed Hamas, but they also went on this little side quest of just bombing random civilian houses for no reason, it just makes them happy. Let's say they did that, and
Well, it's not
it
for no
actually was
reason.
like
Well, hold on,
it
don't
actually,
strawman me. It's not for no reason. It's
yeah.
because the government and a lot of people who believe in the Zionist project believe they cannot be safe if these people exist in their territory, and they want to make it all Israel, right? They want to kick off all the Gazans. They want to ethnically cleanse the West Bank and get rid of all that with their illegal settlements. It's not for no reason. It's, hey, we are destroying and discouraging this population from existing where they like think is their land. Like, it's not for no reason.
Why are we
Okay,
talking about Israel?
they're
I
just
really
that's
need
just
to
not
ask
what they're
that
okay.
because
That's
that's completely not what this conversation was about. Like, this is the
Yeah,
most
sorry. I
annoying
feel like
thing
we are
about
leaving the
this
people out, but
dynamic.
we can bring it back.
No, no, no.
I'll just do the
There is a
last thing.
problem that every single conversation about anti-Semitism ever just completely always has to devolve into this topic, and we can't talk about the fact that there is actually, real anti-Semitism on the rise throughout Western politics. We're confronted with it almost every day by now.
Wait. We can
Yeah,
transition this.
I'll
We can
just
transition this.
respond to that.
Wait, Loner,
I
after
mean,
you
it's
respond,
great.
can you
No,
also
I
add?
want to say it's great that you two can have this conversation, and you
Yes.
should have this conversation. Maybe you can have it here at Wix panel. I don't know the next time, or maybe you can have it on one of your channels. But you see what I mean?
Yeah, it does
doesn't
get
help.
obfuscated.
Yeah.
Oh, Loner, when you respond, can
It's
you
not
at the
just the
end?
obfuscation of that.
Can you tell me, based on my opinions,
Lonerbox,
am I
and then Soy
anti-Semitic? No. I'll stop responding about the Israel. I was just curious, like, if has anything that I've said here been anti-Semitic, or is these all like very valid criticism that may or may not be wrong?
It took me like 2 years since October. It took me until like maybe a few months ago, just before I started even calling Hassan anti-Semitic. I have a pretty high bar. I think what you're saying is largely ignorant, but it's like, yeah, it's not anti-Semitic.
I'll take it.
Just to cap it off, it's like. I was wondering if I want to address that last war claim or not. Just like, yeah, it's probably worth mentioning that if they really think they can't be safe, if like there are people living in Gaza and all they've done in the last 3 years is kill 80,000 out of 2.5 million people, that just sounds like a really bad job. I mean, the fact is,
they don't want
the fact is that less than like 20% of Israeli Jews want to annex Gaza. I think less than 35% of them want to annex the West Bank. Like this is a minority opinion even in Israel. Like, the government is not really showing much sign of trying to do this. But If we're going to talk about what would happen if America disconnected from Israel, one, we know the right wingers would be happy because the right wingers in Israel are the ones who. Two, we know that they would have less of a leash than them. And three, they would just be doing the same thing, but with less accurate weapons. They would just use blunt weapons because they do have a just cause in defeating Hamas, and they're just going to have a bunch of fucking crazy right wingers who are willing to take out a fuck ton of civilians while they do it, and they'll do it without America's help.
I, we're gonna keep continuing this debate. If they wanted to kill all of them, only killing 80,000 of them would clearly show they're not doing a good job. But the point is, like, we're
In
displacing
3
them,
years with their
kicking them-
firepower, yes.
displacing them, kicking them out, discouraging them, and doing what they can to get away with it. It's very different.
Displacing them from one side of Gaza to the other?
And then having them
Displacing
all
them from the north to the south,
diaspora,
then back to
yes.
the north, then to the east, and then to the west. So they went so they displaced them from the north to the south, then back from the south up to the north, and then from the east. Is it just like a fucking colonial musical chairs that they're doing, like within the exact same territory?
Is that not displacement?
Or is it maybe it is displacement? But why do you think they're doing it? Why do you think they told people from the north to the south? Why do you think they call people and tell them to leave their building before they bomb it?
Well, I mean, no, I'm not pushing back against that. I'm just saying, like, it seems like you're minimizing the effective displacement on those displaced because they weren't displaced that far.
No, I'm not minimizing it. We're just
Well, you're saying,
What
well,
was
they're
Soipel
just
saying?
displaced to
No,
the north.
what
and then
was
the- well,
Soipel- what was
displacement
Soipel-
left.
My
I think-
point is that if
what
they
was
could do,
Soipel's-
if they
okay, first
could
off,
get
hang on,
away
hang
with
on.
it,
I've
my
just been
point was that they
okay.
would try to get them completely out of Gaza. That's what I'm
Lonerbox
trying to
needs
say.
to defend his honor real quick.
Yeah. Okay. I was saying that in response to Soipel's claim that they were doing this displacement so that they could claim Gaza for Israel. And if you want to claim Gaza for Israel, I don't really know why you displaced them from the north of Gaza to the south of Gaza, then from the east and then to the. I don't know why you would do that if you wanted to
Because these
claim
are
Gaza. It
steps
makes
in
no fucking sense.
between, doing whatever operation you are right now to eventually get them all completely out. But like, yeah, it was like, why didn't they push them all into Egypt on day one? Because that wasn't like part of the logistical plan to do it that way. Like are
They
you
could
denying
have.
that the people in
You
government?
understand that they could have, right? They could have just like bombed the fence at the Egyptian border and then just bombed the side of Rafah that's away from the
Yeah,
border
and then
just
dealt
said,
with the
"Get fuck
international
up, you
consequences of
wicked
that.
little-"
I think they don't think they could get away
What
with that. I think
international
that's very
consequences? The UN tables more resolutions against Israel than every other country combined. Like the international community.
What does that have to do with whether or not if they
it despises
bombed
Israel.
a completely separate nation's border and caused them to have a refugee crisis? You don't think this would be like way fucking worse than the backlash they're facing right now?
It would be worse, but what's the rest of the world going to do? It seems like you even right
I don't
now,
know, the
even
same
now
things
that-
we do against countries like Russia. Like we would have stricter sanctions when it's like, holy shit, now you're just bombing Egypt like indiscriminately because you want to make it
Even-
their problem. Like this is okay.
Even
We should
now
go
that
back to
everyone thinks it's
anti-Semitism.
a-
This is getting really ridiculous.
Okay. Like, no, great content, but off topic, right? We got way into the weeds of this, which is, I think, telling. But I wanted again, because there are so many people who have spread so much misinformation about this topic, it does create, in my opinion, a much more anti-Semitic environment. Look, no one has to hate the Jews, in my opinion, to be anti-Semitic, right? Or at least not to have anti-Semitic outcomes. Like when we talk about like, does he really in his heart of hearts hate the Jews? I think that's a why are we talking about that? What we should be talking about is the rhetoric this person is using, is the way that they're talking about a subject, is the terms that they're using, is the policies they're pushing for or advocating for, is this going to result in outsized harm to the Jewish people?
Yes.
And if it is, I think that there is some cause, at least, to suspect maybe this is going to cause anti-Semitic outcomes, which is what actually matters. I don't care what people think in their heart of fucking hearts, right? I don't give a shit. I care about how it's going to affect other people, right? And that's where we got to kind of get into the weeds here. I would posit that the continuous scapegoating of AIPAC, right? Or scapegoating of everything bad that happens to AIPAC, right? Of oh, the turning of Zionist into a slur, basically, and all these other things have resulted in harm to the Jewish community, not just in Israel, but in America, right? You see people who look Jewish, who are just at their at their fucking like eating out, right? And people will come up to, "Oh, are you Israeli?" And then they'll just grill them, right? On the like, do you support the genocide that's going on? Like, this is not okay. This is not something we do. We would obviously recognize it as Islamophobic if people came up to Abdul El Said and forced him to denounce all the actions that any Islamic regime ever did in the country, right? That'd be crazy to do. But for whatever reason, we kind of overlook it when it comes to Jewish people. And that's a problem for me. Anyway, I want to give it to Kraut a little bit to maybe get us back on track and then kind
I
of
don't
get
know.
back
Kraut's
into
been
the
talking a
discussion.
little too much. What are you doing?
Yeah, I have been. I have been. Sorry for that one. I didn't prepare to talk about Israel. I don't know anything about that topic, other conflict, at least not to the extent that most people who studied that actually do. No, I mean, Wick and I know people who were hounded off the internet, right? Creators. And when you look at how the environment is right now, like, I think a lot of us have to be dealing with Hassan, who basically accuses everyone of being Israeli backed, Israeli funded, and he's pushing that kind of rhetoric into the mainstream. And we're starting to see it in the mainstream. We all just covered Anna and Schenk Yuga, who are doing the exact same thing. It is harmful, and it is dangerous that they're doing this. And that is what I came here to discuss, because I oppose it and I find it disgusting. I find it horrendous, and it should be called out. And it should be called out more. And every time we do talk about it, we get sidetracked into conversations about Israel, which, yeah,
Well,
beggars some
that's
questions, I
what's
guess.
so unfortunate about this whole thing is like, I appreciate Loner and our back
Do
and
you
forth.
blame
Like,
Israel for? Do you would? Are you one of the people who would blame Israel for that
I
in
don't
the
know if you
long
like can
term?
blame them, but it's like that's the reason this is such a hot topic now. I'm sure, like at least for I don't know about Hassan, but like for Anna and Shank, I bet they probably wouldn't even be talking about this half as much if like what was happening in Israel wasn't happening. It's like kind of hard to disentangle these things, and like why this whole conversation is frustrating is because every and all anti-Semitic attacks that are coming that have always been there. I mean, you could look and you could find anti-Israel shit in like far right circles like 10 years ago before really like it was ramping up to the degree it is now. But it's because like how do you criticize Israel without getting lumped in with those people? It's like, well, a lot of these people just fall into it. So, but yeah, it should be condemned. Especially, you have Anna Kasparian going on and doing the like, the greedy Jew meme, like rubbing her fucking hands together, talking about dancing Israelis that like Jews did 9/11. Like these people are fucking off the deep end. So yeah,
I don't really want to talk as much about like them. I want to talk more about the people who they target,
Mm.
because they have actually harmed people. I mean, when we were in DC, I mean, you were in DC, Wick was in DC. We met people who were personally affected by this, hounded by this, and
Yeah,
it sucks. And I don't want to overstate the fact, like it goes beyond
I want to
that
give you an example.
itself, right?
I want to give
Like
you well.
I want to give an example
Oh,
as well.
give an
Like,
example. Give an example. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, no, of the thing of where it goes beyond just the community, the Jewish community, and who is getting targeted. Where the factory in the Czech Republic that was burnt down by a group of Palestine activists who were Hassan watchers, who were told that the factory was Israeli.
they
You know,
by Hassan too.
yeah, Hassan said that that factory was Israeli.
That's it. I've never heard that. That could literally.
He
I don't know.
also
They should bring that up more often. Of like, this is maybe like a terroristic attack that was spawned from this
It
guy's
was a
stream.
These
Yeah.
people are now on trial in the Czech
There's
The
Republic, and
some
problem,
data with that
the
one.
yeah, the problem,
factory actually
yeah,
made drone parts for Ukraine.
yeah. The problem is Hassan is much like Trump. The reason Trump gets away with so much that he does is because every other week there's another fucking scandal. There's just so much. It's hard to focus because when you talk about Trump bad, there's so many examples and people it waters it down because there's just so many. Hassan, there's the same thing. Like everyone always talks about his dog. Everyone always talks about his 9/11 comments. Everyone always talks about all these things. But there
It's a
are
Ukraine takes for
so
me.
many things that he has done and said that are real big fucking
And
issues
he's now
that it
gone
gets
out of the mainstream, right? He
it
is
gets
now
hard
in the
to.
mainstream. He campaigns with politicians. And it is worrying to see that there are a lot of these politicians who he campaigns with, or at least candidates he campaigns with, because they're not yet politicians until, at least elected representatives until they actually get elected, sometimes seems to be flirting into that direction, pushing into that direction in terms of how they talk about Jewish people.
Send me
I
that.
think
Send me
more.
that. The factory story, please, Kraut. I'd like to look into that.
Yes.
He also, I don't know, he also, before being very surprised about the UK not letting him in, was celebrating and laughing when those Palestine Action people attacked an RAF base and damaged a plane. He was also celebrating that as well and saying that this was,
And
weapons that
lied.
were going to be used in
Lied
genocide.
about
Yeah,
it.
but they weren't. Yeah,
Yeah.
because the UK had already frozen every single license for offensive weaponry in Gaza. Like they're still sending military aid, quote unquote, but it's for like Iron Dome or parts that Israel used to sell to other countries, or like press vests, or even protective equipment for like humanitarian workers. But it's also it's interesting that like you get these people who say that, well, we talk about it more in America because it's like it's a Western backed nation. That's why it's more interesting to us than Sudan or whatever else. But like that doesn't explain why people are attacking bases in Belgium, does it? Or it doesn't explain
Yeah.
why it's the biggest protest movement in the Netherlands right now. Like these countries, some of these countries do fuck all with Israel, and they still, yeah, they attacked. There's a Belgian base as well that was actually sending aid to Ukraine. And in the UK, it was again, as far as I know, they lied. They said that these RAF jets were helping to refuel IDF jets, but as far as I've seen, there's literally no evidence of that. So,
I do want to, speaking of Hassan Piker and anti-Semitism and things like that, we have another one more entry into our game of is this anti-Semitism? So J Stock tweeted this out. For anybody who isn't watching, Hassan Piker has become the target of every pro-Israel Democrat because they cannot openly support Israel. Don't let this sleight of hand occur. Hassan has no effect on Democrat politics, aside from being an effective smokescreen for pro-Israel Dems. So, like I said, we started off easy. We're getting harder. Is this anti-Semitism? What do we think?
I don't think this is anti-Semitic. I think this is kind of a stretch. I mean, maybe could we not like? I'm trying to think. Like, did Jared Moskowitz not talk about Israel at all in like the entire campaign that he ran? I think the attacking Hassan is like, hey, this is an easy fucking target. This is a guy with a lot of baggage, a lot of controversies. But whether or not this is anti-Semitic, I don't think so.
Any
Yeah,
other thoughts?
it's kind of retarded. Not it's anti-Semitic.
Fair enough.
yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say. Is I don't know if it would cross anti-Semitism, but it's really stupid regardless.
Any thoughts, Kraut?
Sorry, I was distracted. I'm not friends with Soypil. Just noticed that. For anybody who isn't watching, Hassan Piker has become the target of every pro-Israel Democrat because they cannot openly support Israel. That's a bit of a stretch, but it's not anti-Semitic. Don't let this sleight of hand occur. Hassan has no effect on Democrat politics aside from being an effective smokescreen for pro-Israel. No, he does have an effect on politics. He's pushing the party into a leftist extreme. That he's actively trying to push the party into a leftist extreme. He's not succeeding in it because he's a moron and he looks horrible. And the effect he will have in the end is that he's going to be used by the Republican Party, who are going to try to paint the entire Democratic Party as being the Hassan Party. But yeah, no, I don't think that is an anti-Semitic statement. It's a stupid statement.
Fair enough. So just conspiratorial, not anti-Semitic is the verdict.
Not even conspiratorial. It's just nonsense.
Well, if he could
Yeah, and I
if
think
he could
Democrats.
substantiate it by saying like, look, every single pro-Israeli Democrat in the primary in the past 4 months hasn't been talking about Israel to the same extent because it's become a like an 80-20 issue in the Democratic Party. Like that would you could substantiate this, but it seems like a stretch to me.
Fair enough. I don't know. It's just the idea that, like, I agree. It's probably not anti-Semitic, but I think it leads to it. One of the things that you will get called if you criticize Hassan is pro-Israel, right? And so this
Yeah.
idea that you cannot, like, if you criticize Hassan, right, you're just doing it to secretly or subversively defend Israel. I find, again, just it feeds into this kind of narrative, right? That there is, again, this cabal of politicians or cabal of people who are secretly picking on Hassan in order to defend Israel. It again, it's not one to one, but it does kind of feed into that conspiratorial
But
thinking.
that's not even like a you don't need conspiracy to say it is logically, it would just make sense to attack the guy who has said the most unhinged things about Israel, because those are the easy ones to show to people and be like, hey, like, this is who this politician is buddying up with. Like, are you okay with saying this about Israel? No. Well, like, that's a lot easier. Like, the theory of it's easier to look and use this person as the worst example than it is to be like, I have to be on the defense and defend everything Israel is doing. Like, that's not that ridiculous. It's, I mean, he's an easy target. That's like what that's like. I think you agree with this. Like, that's the reason all the Fox people are going after him. It's not because they're like, oh, Israel's telling them to, but it's like, yeah, look, this guy's got a lot of fucking horrible statements on stream, and you can use them to get
It's the same
attack him.
reason. It's the same reason that I think that Democrats should go after Hassan, is because it's, again, it shows that you're better than this person, and it like show and try to tie it to the other side, right? Like, the reason we go after someone like Stephen Miller isn't just because he's evil. He is, but because we can tie it to our enemies on the right and say this is what MAGA is. It's Stephen Miller, right? And it's something that we can do. It's very effective. Same thing. This is the last one I got.
Can I say something about that as well?
Yes,
Like
go
the
ahead.
sense that the fact that it's just used as such an incredibly like unrealistic litmus test. The fact that that Scott Wiener guy, correct me if I'm wrong, did Scott Wiener, he went as far as calling it genocide, right?
I believe so. Yes.
And did he support an embargo, or did he support restrictions, or?
That
So
I'd have to.
I don't know,
I've seen
but
your
he
part.
could
I don't know how
pound
much
it
you
either
trust.
way.
I think it was one and not the other.
But I don't know how
don't
much
know
you
which
trust Ryan Grimm, Loner, but like Ryan Grimm was reported. There's like two not verified but independent insiders who said that he had a call with some, I forgot what it was, like a
I
pro-Israel
would
lobbyist who
not
was saying like,
trust
Wait.
Ryan
So
Grimm.
Ryan Grimm said there were insiders that told him. Is that is that how you?
I'd have to find the thing specifically.
Anonymous
Actually, let me grab it
insiders.
right now just so I don't like start hearsaying
In
super
the
hard.
second week of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, there was an American journalist who was murdered by Russian soldiers, and Ryan Grimm was out there claiming that no, actually it was the Ukrainians who murdered him, and are now blaming the Russians falsely. Like, that's the type of person that Ryan Grimm is.
The real
Ryan
Yes.
Grimm
litmus
also,
test.
Scott Wiener,
yeah.
Okay.
Senator Scott Wiener, calls Israel's actions genocide during a congressional debate forum.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
He did
but-
come out and say that,
because-
but the implication, and this might as well be conspiracy because right now it's hearsay. There's no verified sources. Is that he did this
Yeah,
because of
and that's
political
everything
pressure?
with Ryan Grimm.
Yeah.
That's
If
everything.
you've got a minute later, Soipel, I can show you Ryan Grimm and site literally spreading a fabricated quote from the anti-Hamas protesters to try and say they were pro-resistance. It was just
Oh, yeah.
completely fake.
I saw
very obviously
when they
fake.
had Rokon on, I've called Dropsite into question and their credibility. So I am not taking this with anything but
Call
a
drop
huge
site
grain of
into
salt.
question.
I think
those
after the
guys
Grant
they're-
Plattner
they're
stuff-
Jew haters. They're anti-Semites, both of them.
Yeah.
Easy call. I was going to say, yeah, because Scott Wiener was not only harassed by those people at that Pride rally that he'd apparently been going to for years. He was also I think it was Hassan who said that he should his repentance for it, or his way of compensating for the Zionism, would be to support Hamas. It's like, yeah, and the fact that that's happening to a Jewish person as well, yeah, that's just fucking unbelievable.
So I'm going to read Scott Wiener's full statement. He says, "For years, I've condemned Netanyahu and his extremist government and the devastation they've inflicted on Gaza. It's why I've been clear. I won't support U.S. funding for the destruction of Palestinian communities. I've stopped short of calling it a genocide, but I can't anymore." And then he calls it a genocide, right? So not only does he, again, refuse to support U.S. funding, like he's against U.S. funding for the destruction of Palestinian communities, right? So arms embargo and things like that. But he also calls it a genocide. So that's the. What else do you want if you're pro-Palestinian?
Well, I think
know
the
what's
reason he
interesting
gets
is that-
flack is they don't believe him. Is like his track record up to then is that he is like not. He's done this as a cynical political move and not because he truly believes that it is. And he hasn't done anything to show that he truly believes it. In the same way that people who are calling it genocide or are showing support for like arms embargoes are. That's specifically for him.
Has
But again,
he voted against arms to Israel? I don't even know.
well, he just got he just won the primary, and before that, he was a state congressman.
Okay, so he couldn't have, right?
So he's never voted for them either.
But he hasn't shown support for like, hey, if I'm elected, this is
Yeah,
what I'll do.
okay.
Is my understanding.
Okay.
You know what's such an interesting comparison is that, like, to this day, I don't think I've called Russia's actions in Ukraine a genocide, and I've even if people ask, I'll just say no, I don't think so yet. Um, no Ukrainian has ever or pro-Ukrainian has ever given me shit for that, like ever. It's just such a strange thing that like
Mm.
the double
Hey,
standards
I
and that
think you
kind of thing.
should call it a genocide, sir.
Yeah, let's give them some shit. I actually don't know if it meets a
Yeah.
Kraut. You probably, if all of us know the best with like with the way they're displacing and
Ethnic,
kidnapping
you could
children.
say
And
Yeah,
ethnic cleansing. It's definitely ethnic cleansing at this point. Yeah, because
I
they're deporting people
yeah.
to Siberia.
Okay. Last entry. Okay. It's a meme. I sold out our country for Israel because I'm a pedophile. Is this anti-Semitism?
you said they was going to get harder. I think this is more anti-Semitic than some of the other examples we've seen because,
Really?
yeah, well,
Why?
so the idea that like playing into the idea that Israel owns our country, Trump has sold them out, and also Israel has some like secret like IDF dirt, some Mossad dirt on Trump, which, you know, this could be true. Maybe there's an Epstein connection, but this is all conspiracy. It's all just like not baseless conjecture, but it's like you're 17 steps ahead in like this conspiracy and like the idea that like we've entered the Iran.
That was the signal gang.
Yeah, that was the
QAnon signal.
the Epstein Freudian slip. Like the idea that this is like even close to being substantiated in the same way. Like Marco Rubio comes out and has retracted the statement. So like, oh, like, Israel forced our hand in Iran. Like that's a little closer, but like saying like, oh, Donald Trump is a pedophile, and Israel knows, and they have blackmail on him, and they control our government, and it's like, okay, you're leaning way harder into the anti-Semitism there.
They should just kept the last 3 words. That'd have been a much better sign.
Okay.
Can I guess who that tweet came from?
If you guess,
From Kyle, right?
I'll give you a prize.
That's
Yeah,
Kyle
from Kyle.
Kalinske.
Yeah, it's Kyle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he
I know
says
you
that.
tried
He
to
said
hide
that
that, but Wick,
last
it's in the
video.
URL, you know, right?
Look,
Yeah.
I'm not the best at hiding things. Okay, but that
Not
speaks
like
to my character.
Israel, am I right?
I
Wick?
just don't have practice at it.
The
I'm
most
honest.
transparent panel of all time.
I'm too honest. It's just true. You know, I can't tell a lie. I'm literally incapable. Okay, gang. We have reached the 2-hour mark. Let's read some of these super chats, and if anyone has any other thoughts on these, we can get into it. This panel's gone a lot of different ways. Okay, $10 from the Trib. Is Soy just trying to say it's a genocide and Israel deserves the negativity they get regardless of how healthy it is because genocide? So fact of the matter would be the differentiator here, not the label.
No, it's the opposite. It's like that talking candidly about what's actually happening is unfortunately going to very thinly and very closely play into anti-Semitic tropes. Israel has a lot of influence over our country. I don't think we have a fucking Zog, but we do have millions of dollars coming to, you know, from pro-Israeli PACs or whatever to, you know, influence primaries. But it's like, is this even close to the biggest amount of spending electorally? No, I think it's like 5th electorally, and for lobbying, it's not even close. But like specifically in elections, it's like top 10. But the idea that like, oh, and our government is owned by Israel, like talking candidly about AIPAC, talking candidly about what Israel's doing in Gaza, like it's easy for anti-Semites to jump on that train, and it's frustrating because you can do all this without being anti-Semitic, and you get lumped in with the people that are like, yep, look at fucking Israel owns our country because Trump's a pedophile and Epstein, which, you know, several of those 3 things might be true, but you're drawing a lot of conclusions.
$5 from No Flame, please. In 3rd grade, I was really sick and pooped myself. Why would Soros do this to me? Thank you for that. $5 from Trib 1. It's pretty obvious that the people covering the conflict without legit hate for either side can criticize both sides. If you can't, then that's telling. $5 from Bangarang. There is no one better to talk Israel-Palestine than Lonerbox. Soy Pill, you already had to get educated by him on the topic while already having strong opinions. Okay.
I appreciate all the
$2.
Lonerbox conversations, and I'm not coming in here as an expert. In fact, I would go so far as to say Lonerbox knows more about being Jewish than I do as a Jew. So,
is that
don't say
anti-Semitic
that.
to say? I don't know. The $2
So I
from
don't
the
knows
Trib
more
1.
about being an Arab than me. It's fine.
Okay. Trib 1 for $2. Ziobox, LOL. The Mossad send their best. Ha ha ha. W box. Okay.
I've heard Zogbox. That rolls off the tongue better than Ziobox. I don't know.
Is it anti-Semitic to call me Zogbox?
Probably, yeah, absolutely.
Shit!
$5
It's a
from the
lot of
trip.
people, a lot of enemies you just made there.
Wow. 7 million of them. Okay, $5 from the
7
Treb
million.
One. Yeah.
What's
On a
significant
serious,
about that number, Wick?
don't worry about it. On a
That
serious
number
note,
sounds too
the fact
high.
of the matter on the grounds is what gets missed a lot. How Adam Smith dog walked Crystal was because she didn't know. Thank you for $5. $5 from Bad Company. Or I'm sorry, I already read that one. $5 from the Trib One. This is the right angle IMO because of the lack of information from the Zog posters is why we're here. But yeah, run your show, Wick. LOL. Okay. $20 from Chachi McSwagger. So long as a single civilian dies in Gaza, Soy Pill will say America wasn't hard enough on Israel. He assigns 0% of the blame to Hamas because he simply wants Israel to lose and die, like all progressives do. It's that simple.
It's crazy, Wick. These
true?
people can just read my mind. They're so good at like just disseminating my opinion into the perfect. Just oh man, so eloquent, so verbose.
You gotta get better dog whistles.
Yeah, damn.
So in other words, you agree with him totally. Got it.
Yeah, no, that's
$5. $5 from Metalworks. I'm sorry. Okay. $5. No, we're gonna get it. Okay. Straight face. $5 from Metalworks. Imagine we stop giving Israel weapons and China just swoops in to arm them instead. I'm pretty sure that's the worst case scenario for everyone involved.
that's xenophobic.
Yeah. Chachi McSwag for $5. Soy Pill equates arming Israel to arming Russia. I'm curious, what was the October 7th event for the invasion of Ukraine?
To be clear, I don't think arming Russia would be the same as arming Israel. I was just trying to make the argument of like, well, they're causing all this destruction. If we give them more accurate things, technically this could cause less destruction insofar as if the bombs are less discriminate, or if you have like those like ninja stars, even that like aren't even bombs and they can like assassinate a guy in a car. Like this argument makes sense to me, but depending on what the policies of the country are, I think that it doesn't really matter if they have more accurate bombs insofar as they don't care. They'll use the less accurate bombs if they want to. It's just if they use the more accurate bombs to kill civilians anyway, even if it's not directly targeting them, but they don't care about the collateral, like then it's kind of irrelevant in the long run.
Is that what you think about Israel, to be clear? You think the accuracy of their weapons doesn't matter?
I think the way in which they use them, it doesn't seem to matter in the scheme of, okay, you've kind of just leveled Gaza and killed way too many people. Yeah.
Shit.
They did it accurately, though.
$5 from Bad Company. If the in before Soy Pill drops, quote, how do you sleep at night, end quote, to Lonerbox, like Cristobal did Slotkin.
How do you sleep at night, Loner? Because if you've got a good sleeping pill, I'm out of melatonin and I need to re-up.
If you combine melatonin with antihistamines and L-theanine, you can. That's an emergency.
I thought L-theanine was the one that makes you have more voluminous semen.
I
and zinc.
have not noticed that.
And
I just use it for sleep
Oh, okay.
sometimes.
Okay. £2 from Riz What the Fuck. Laughable ignorance from Soy Pill yet again. Okay.
Why
$10.
do they hate you so much? That's so. It's kind of
It's probably because I'm
Kind of
Jewish.
weird.
I think your chatter's anti-Semitic.
There's shit here that I don't even know.
$10 from the Trib One. I love Loner, but he's not getting this info from thin air. There are many people covering it who are calling balls and strikes. The far left is anti-Israel, and their media signal boosts that feeling. I think that was to you, Lonerbox.
I don't know what I'm supposed
Is
to
this like
respond to
the
that with.
Lonerbox is like a Hasbarist, like like Israel funded pundit or
Well,
something?
no,
Is that
Lonerbox
what they're
made a
saying?
comment in the
Oh,
conversation.
where I got my information from, you're saying?
No, Lonerbox got a Lonerbox, you made a comment earlier in the conversation that a lot of times this information is unreliable, it's fabricated in some cases, all these things, right? And this person is countering that or attempting to counter that by saying, well, there's just so much of it out there and they're trying to call balls and strikes. They're not just pulling it out of their ass. They're actually trying to do the right thing. That's the counter here.
The organizations are, you mean, like the orgs who condemn Israel?
That is, again, that's how I read it. It could be.
Yeah, I know they're getting their information from somewhere, but again, because Soypil did the whole Mediasan battle rap, all the your org thing, like I can give you one specific example. Like the most recent one that they put out a report on this, like within the last couple of months. They are still using the 70% women and children injured or dead number, even though the health ministry stopped using that number like 2 years ago, and the UN stopped using that number as well because it was false, because it was lumping in a whole bunch of things from the government media, all just randomly adding thousands of women and children when they were, and they couldn't verify.
Is he?
Like they're just using antiquated stats 2 years after the fact, and these are supposed to be the professionals and the experts, and they're literally using data that even the health ministry doesn't use. Most of my information comes from actually the fact, not from just believing Israel, it's because there's a surprising amount of information that Israel and Hamas completely agree upon. They agree that Hamas puts tunnels everywhere. They agree that Hamas fires missiles from refugee tents. They agree that Hamas is underneath hospitals. They agree that Hamas uses schools, and and they have fucking lawyers who are also militants. They have doctors who are also militants. They have nurses who are also militants. They have aid workers who are also. They all agree on this. If you just look at what both of them are saying, and if you look at, especially over the last 8 months, of the amount of stuff that they agree that they use child soldiers. Islamic Jihad have just released like 20 people. One of them was as young as 14 that have been killed in this war. So I don't know.
It's a
But
$10.
for some reason, Westerners don't consent to that.
Make sure you give him a $10 answer. Okay. $5 from Black Pilled Kiwi. Amnesty International shit the bed royally in Ukraine when they claimed their forces were operating among civilians in schools and hospitals.
Oh, there were a shit ton of fuck ups there.
Yeah.
They were
Shit
schools
ton
that
of
were
fuck ups.
abandoned, right? Like,
Yeah. What they and this continues.
fucking hell.
What they failed to mention was that the civilians were evacuation refusers. The schools were on the front lines and already bombed out, and the soldiers were being treated in the hospital at Soypil. Okay. Bangarang for $5. Soypil. Are you capable of not looking at every single part of this topic as Israel bad, or are you that audience captured? Your chat is insane.
I mean, if we're talking about
Your
what
chat
they're
is kind of
doing
insane,
in
to be clear.
Gaza,
Let me find his chat. Where's his chat?
His chat, like, I remember
I'm
when
telling
we were
him
at
to stop being so
LibCon, your
mean to
chat
you,
was telling
Loner.
me to shove a pineapple up my ass.
Are you on Twitch? I want to look at your chat. 'Cause you'll never stop.
I'm not
Okay,
streaming
they're
on Twitch right
rabid.
now. I'm just on YouTube.
Fuck.
Wait, why? You can look. You can
He
open up
wants to see
YouTube
your
too.
crazy chat.
I want to
He's
look.
very curious.
I'm streaming on Twitch.
Like, I don't know what his chat is saying, but I'm very curious what.
You know, no one's
can
called you
give us, like, a
Zogbox
couple-
yet. But a couple people are being
I'm sure
mean.
they've called me
so-
much
Wait,
nicer.
wait. Have there been things in here that have been said that could get me banned from Twitch?
No.
No, right? Since you bring it
Of
up.
course
Okay,
not.
good.
All right,
Never.
everyone, he's coming. Everyone be nice. Wait, so yeah, am I capable of seeing things as Israel? Like, do I think Israel's evil in every aspect? No, but we're specifically talking about like the actions that I super condemn.
Sure.
So like, of course, I'm going to be anti-Israel in that respect.
$10 from Chachi to say, friendly reminder that there's almost nothing more anti-Semitic to say about Israel than twisting Gaza's 5-figure fatality count into evidence of their genocidal intent. Damned if they do or don't.
Personally, think there's a lot more anti-Semitic stuff you could say than that.
Don't give us examples. Okay.
No, I'm not. I would know. I'm just saying that seems
Yeah,
like a really
and
rather
here's a
mundane thing.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And
No, I got in trouble for that in 5th grade. Not that specifically, but my teacher, we did a segment on racism in the English class for whatever reason. And she asked the class, like, do you guys know any racist slurs?
I know this story.
Being the good student that I am, I did. And I proceeded to list them. And I got sent to the principal's office. It sucks. $5 from Trevika. Question to Soypil. For people who are Zionist, should that belief no longer exist in your eyes? If so, why?
I just don't like the term because of the way it's just all encompassing and the way it's used. Obviously, I can't be like, oh, snap my fingers and we'll use a different word. But the fact that it encompasses, especially when we talk about the polling, I've already said this, but it's like, I am sympathetic to the idea, like, there is no greater justification for a Jewish state than like your post 1945. You're like, okay, literally every fucking country in the world has kicked us out and tried to fucking kill us. We need a fucking safe space. Even like America, like, you know, it didn't accept us during this like Holocaust. But I think as the world has developed and like people are more accepting and there's all these Western countries, it's less justifiable to say like we need this to maintain this ethnic majority. And I am less sympathetic to the fact of like especially the people that want to maintain ethnic majorities using like fascistic tendencies. But yeah, what was the question again? I'm sorry, I became anti-Israel for a second.
Should Zionists
should
exist?
Zionists exist? Like, yeah, like if you think like Israel should exist and that's what you call Zionism, like sure, but like that's why it's frustrating because Zionism also entails ultra Zionism or rabid Zionism, as
$5
a Loner has said. So
$5 from Nemo Nobody. This guy's propeller hat is a bit too on the nose. $20 from True Thompson. Thank you, Wick. You're welcome. For exposing the ignorance of the soy pill and showing what it looks like when an uninformed person with strong opinions meets actual facts and knowledge.
you can't. No, don't give Wick credit for that. All right, I have been a YouTuber for 5 years. I've been doing that all on my own.
Okay, $5 from Bad Company. But by all means, protect Hassan from Moskowitz soy pill. Really doing the Lord's work.
Let me just comment on that. I think that was so ridiculous.
Because I gotta
shitting on Hassan, I'm here for it. Okay, politicians shitting on Hassan, even like AOC going after Alex Stein, AOC going after Tim Pool, AOC going after Ben Shapiro. I'm there for it. The fact that it's like your initial message right after figuring out you won, I think that's a little embarrassing. That's like not inspiring confidence in my politicians.
No, I think that was fine. Especially on a platform like
Twitter's
Twitter.
for shit posting, man.
He probably gave us a speech.
Oh no, because like you look at his tweet that came out like a few hours later, which is like, oh, this is what I expect a politician to do when they win, which is like, here's my family, thank you voters. Here's my dog, thank you voters. And it's like, yeah, that's what I want when Joe Biden wins the race. That's what he can do. If Joe Biden says, or my favorite example of this, when Barack Obama, someone asked him like Kanye West, and he got hot mic'd being like, oh, that guy's a jackass. Like hilarious. We love when people shit on people we don't like. If Barack Obama won. And then, like, the hour after he wins, he's like, "Fuck you, Kanye West." I'd be like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, this is our president."
Hold on.
That
like,
would be funny.
Let's say Trump does run for a third term, right? And Newsom, or another liberal warrior beats him in the election, and then the first thing he tweets out is, "Fuck you, Donald Trump," right? We won. Would you have a problem with that?
I think I would as the victory message, because it's like, damn,
Really?
our country is like, not only are we divided enough that like Trump has done everything that Trump has done, but like now our post victory, our like consolidation, our like message of unity is like, go fuck yourself, everyone who didn't vote for me. Like, that's getting a little risky. I'm not really happy with that.
Yeah, no way. I think we should dunk on MAGA and hang on the rim the way that Trump's going to call it.
I agree. You're preaching to the choir, but I'm just saying as the victory message, it's like, this is not inspiring confidence.
I don't see why it's a problem.
Look, I'm the one who says Gavin should call him retard on stage. I'm just saying if he did it as his victory message, I'd be like, all right, is this where we're going? This is where the country is right now?
Bella Monto for $5. It's Canadian dollars, though. Ew. No, actually don't. I take that back. No, Canadian money is just as good as American money. You should send it to me too.
It's literally not. It's literally much less worth.
Look. For soy pill, if Hamas did a chemical, biological, or nuclear attack on Israel, would it be justified?
All three?
or one of the three.
No, it wouldn't be. No.
Okay. Wait, if it was all three, would it be justified?
Well, yeah, only if it's all three, because then it's like, well, that's just cool. I mean, that's so many cool different ways to do a terrorist attack. No, of course not. What the fuck?
Travakia for $5. Question for soy pill: do you trust AIPAC tracker as fully reliable as factual for information?
Absolutely not. Okay. No, AIPAC tracker is ridiculous. I mean, like you look at specifically the example I always point to is the Scott Wiener race, right? Where they're like, when Shoykat Chakrabarti is their preferred candidate, they're like, look, he's got the green marker. Connie Chen, she takes all this money from AIPAC. Then as soon as it's Connie Chen and Scott Wiener as the two viable candidates, now they flip it and they're like, oh no, Connie Chen is actually great. She rejects AIPAC. It's like, well, hold on, like Scott Wiener doesn't even take money from AIPAC. He's pro-Israel, but like, yeah, it's ridiculous.
$50 from That Blue Falcon. Hey, Soy Pill, your moderator, Collapstilism, said Lonerbox would be a house N-word in your YouTube chat.
Did he? Dude, I literally just gave a mod in this chat. I was like, I could get this guy mod.
Statement?
I trust him. Did you call him a house N-word? Jesus Christ, dude. Come on. Don't make me take it away.
Do you think that's...
I'm sorry. I'm gonna be the soy pill right now. Okay, I'm gonna actually soy the fuck out. Do
Soy
you know
out.
any idea how fucking disheartening it is as an Arab, as a Lebanese lad, to hear this like constant? When I was a fucking kid, I used to get attacked because people blame me for 9/11 and shit like that. I got beaten up once because of 9/11. Apparently, that was my fault. But then I get older, and it's like these. Then not much happens, and then on the fucking left, it's this idea that like you're a fucking race traitor because I don't like Hezbollah, this fucking organization that has tried to turn a third of my country into a fucking battleground so that they can lob rockets at Israel and then run away behind all the civilians. Say, oh, we're going to keep on fighting, but you're going to have to go through that. Oh shit, you just blew up that fucking like civilian house that I'm hiding under. And they do this all the time. Like there's the village is like just right next to where my grandmother lives, getting bombed because some fucking Hezbollah general decided it was a good idea to go and lie low remote Christian community. Like it's so fucking mental. And again, it's just
That's a
like
crazy thing to
it's not
say,
so it's
right?
not so much just to think that. And again, this is an Iranian proxy. They get their money from Iran. They do nothing for Lebanon. They just bring this country shit and fucking war, and then they run and hide behind civilians whenever the shit gets hot. And then they go on TV and say, "We will continue fighting." And then they, "Oh no, we're getting bombed. Oh shit, we need a ceasefire." Israel goes and backs off, and then they fucking throw rockets again. They go, "Oh, we're gonna run behind this. We're gonna continue fighting. Oh no, it's getting a bit. Let's ceasefire." And then they've just done this for the last fucking 40 fucking. It's such a waste of time. Jesus, what a fucking way to ruin a
By the
country.
way, I have to also like say something. I don't know how many super chats you still have to read, but I'm getting really tired. I've been
If
up
you need to
since
go, tell people
Yeah,
yeah,
where
I've
they
been
can
4 a.m.
find
awake
you,
since like
Kraut.
6 in the morning. Okay, I only just started streaming. I'm still kind of figuring out how to do that. On YouTube, it's Kraut Live. Should I link you the channel?
I linked it in my YouTube description. Not
Okay,
Kraut Live.
and
Do you want me to change it to that one and not your main channel? I can do that.
yeah, wait. I don't know if people here will be interested in watching my streams. I'd have to DM it to you, but I can't do that right now because I'm sharing my screen.
One of
Wait,
my
Here,
let
OG
me-
I have
commenters,
it.
when I had like 5 comments for video, kept saying, "You got to talk
Yeah.
to Kraut. You got to talk to Kraut. You got to talk to Kraut." So at least some portion of my
Yeah, I'm only
audience
just
would be-
learning how to stream. I'm only just learning to stream and have conversations live. It's a new thing for me. I'm not really good at it yet. I'm
You're
still,
doing
and I came into this completely unprepared because I apparently picked the wrong topic. I'm not going to talk about Israel because fuck that topic. But yeah,
That's anti-Semitic.
Okay, well, yep. Feel
no,
free
it's not.
to leave if you need. I do have a few more.
Okay.
An Austrian man saying that, I'm
No.
nervous.
Okay, yeah, no, it is not. Okay, thank you for having me, Wick, and thank you for
Okay.
helping me promote my streaming channel.
Cool.
And I hope you all have a wonderful night, all of you.
You
Bye
as
bye.
well. Thanks.
Ciao.
$10 from Bad Company. Ryan Grimm laugh emoji.
I
I'm
should
out
send it to
on that
stream
note.
and not kid leave the call. I'm such an idiot. Okay, bye. Good night.
Bye. I love Kraut. Kraut's a great guy. Kraut's a party animal, man. Okay, just gotta say that. $10 from Bad Company says Ryan Grimm laugh emoji. I'm out on that note. This is not a real conversation.
I salted that opinion. I was like, I don't know how much you guys trust Ryan Graham. That was his reporting, so.
$20 from King of Kings. I think this whole conversation keeps getting derailed because of anti-Semitism and the subconscious issues at play. I do have a caller that wants that does say that you're an anti-Semite, Soy Pill. I don't know if you want to talk to him.
Shit.
Yeah, I would love to hear how I'm anti-Semitic. And by the
Yeah,
way,
I'm
I'm not gonna do the Ben Shapiro like, I'm Jewish. You can't do that. It's like, no, I could be anti-Semitic. In fact, I joke about being anti-Semitic. So.
We'll bring him on in a minute. Let me get through these, okay? $5 from Lawson Harrison. What are we going to say in 20 years when the ICJ rules against the claims of genocide?
I'll say
They
I
might
was wrong
not.
and
Some of
Loner
those
was
judges
right.
They might not. Some of those judges are fucking insane, but who knows
I
these
don't know.
days.
$5 from Testicle Johnson. One time I pooped in the ocean. My gift to the world. $5 from Jordan. Why do people think Americans should be protesting Sudan when Sudan is not a U.S. ally?
Well, I think there's some level of like moral wrongdoing that you should probably stand for.
Well, and Loner brought up earlier, it's like, okay, well, maybe it explains the American sentiment, but like, why is the Netherlands, why are their biggest protests in Belgium not for that? That's what he was saying.
Like, why is ICE spiritually Israeli when they kill a civilian, but they're not like spiritually any of the other 20 fucking weird countries that American police do exchanges with? Like, why are they not spiritually Thai when American police goes and trains with the Thai Royal Police when they commit human rights abuse?
Is it anti-Semitic to say that?
Yes.
Okay. Spiritually
Because
Israeli.
what if I said fucking like oh, ICE is spiritually Iranian? What, just because they killed a protester in their country? Are you fucking kidding me? It doesn't even make sense. How often does Israel kill their own citizens for protesting? They don't even do that very. They kill people from other countries. Like, but stupid.
I don't know if this
Like
is
if you look at
anti-Semitic, but
it would be like
Wick, I just sent you a
saying that
photo. Can you show it on
like
screen? Sorry, go ahead.
like it's really because I looked into American police forces and just like how many countries they actually do exchanges with. You know that the IDF and the Israeli security forces did an exchange. They were invited to an exchange in China, specifically on security and counterterrorism, but also particularly on sniping. And they did it in the middle of the Great March of Return, when all these left wingers say that Israeli snipers were just like murdering random civilians for peacefully protesting at the border fence. When that was happening, China invited the IDF over to exchange tactics. What if I said like the IDF was being spiritually Chinese? Because the Chinese hosted it. They were the main ones who were teaching stuff. And so yeah, was Israel being spiritually Chinese when they were sniping Palestinians at the border? Fucking retarded. Anyway, countries are responsible for themselves and what they choose to do.
So what you showed me says
yeah,
protesting.
So this is just for context. There's this org called Jew Belong. It's like a nonprofit. They're very big in the Bay Area, and sometimes Loner, I'm like, you sound like a Jew Belong billboard. These billboards are everywhere, man. But that's all I wanted to
Got
say.
out my talk about
I don't know if
Sudan
that's
poster
anti-Semitic.
I don't know. Is this?
No.
I don't think this is anti-Semitic.
Those billboards annoy me to the point where it makes me hate that org. I'm like, they're so big and pink and annoying. There's one that says like, a billboard can't stop anti-Semitism, but you're not a billboard.
True. I mean, where's the lie? Okay. Where was I? $2. General Maccabi. Wick, get Lonerbox and Nick Batau together. I don't know who that is.
That guy's a fucking loser.
Okay. So probably not happening.
He's like actually like a proper fucking like Zio nutter. Like he's an extreme Zionist who wants Israel to be from the river to the sea, and he defends every single military action. And
actually,
all that shit.
Speaking of nutters, have you ever talked to P.F. Young?
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Wait, speaking of Zionist nutters, because I saw you and Pisco talk to Avi Bitterman. What's your opinion on him?
He's definitely more right-leaning and more Zionist-leaning than for my taste, but I don't think he's terrible. I think, again, when it comes to the question of like quite a few disagreeable things that he says, obviously fucking voted for retard, but also like as far as someone that you can share a movement with, I think I would put him in there.
Well, so
in the same sense that I wouldn't.
I don't know if this will change your opinion because someone brought this to my attention. He tweeted, this was 2 months after October 7th, so take that, as you will. He said, I don't actually believe there is such a thing as a civilian in Gaza. There's IDF and there's Hamas. I'd like to caveat my caveat. There are no people in Gaza. There is light and there is darkness, which is like just the most fucking racist, like anti-Palestinian shit I've ever read in my fucking life. And I would not want to share a coalition with that guy if I could help it.
Yeah, no shot.
Well, Avi sometimes watches me. He's jumped on my show before. Avi, if you want to answer for your hate crimes.
He did delete the first one. He didn't delete the second one.
Well, at least
because the thing is like he talks like that on Twitter, but then if you talk to him about conduct and about like moral positions and all that, like he's actually very clear that he opposes even strikes on buildings where there are militants, but that the civilian collateral is too high and things like that. So he's like actually quite critical when it comes to Israel. Like I don't know.
That's I mean maybe he's changed since said tweet, but I wouldn't believe that this man cared when he says there are no people in Gaza. There are just darkness.
Yeah, it's a pretty red flag tweet. Shit.
That does seem that seems probably bad.
Probably bad.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
$5 from Rifftop. Does Soy Pill think xenophobia is okay? If you're anti-Israel, that's fine because it's not anti-Semitic. Why split hairs when it's bigotry regardless?
Is it xenophobia to be like America does bad things? Like I'm anti-America? Like is it xenophobic to say I'm anti-Russia? I think that's not really xenophobia. Xenophobia is like a fear of like foreigners coming in and be like, oh, these foreigners gonna come ruin our our country. Like I don't think saying I don't like Israel's actions is xenophobic.
Sure, I do think it's xenophobic though. Well, America's weird because America is a propositional nation, unlike a lot of other nations like China or Russia or Japan, etc.
China.
But when it comes to like xenophobia, I did think it was kind of xenophobic when after like on the heels of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, everyone was like, we need to get rid of all the Russians in America. They're all a
Yeah,
threat.
that's xenophobic. Yeah, or the
That's absolutely
when
xenophobic.
people were like boycotting American Russian restaurants. This is xenophobic as fuck. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. $10 from the Trib one. My point was to say that Lonerbox is well read on the topic. He's just not the only one, lol. So many people are covering it rigorously. It's pretty easy to tell the extremists from people like Loner.
I
$10
don't
from
think anyone
Adam.
has. Wait, has anyone accused Loner? I don't think anyone here considers Loner an extremist, right?
Your chat
Just your
called
chat.
him, your chat mod called him a house N-word.
The House N
No
word
one
doesn't
Someone else gave
necessarily
me an
mean
uncle. I
extremist.
also
To be
got
clear.
Uncle Ruckus as well. I got fucking Uncle Ruckus.
I got or my now not mod anymore also has downplayed to Steven from Django, which is like the prototypical House N word. So I don't know why he thinks that's less bad, but
Okay. Adam JRI says for $10, is it anti-Semitic to repeatedly conflate AIPAC lobbying, which is done by Americans, with their own interests and quote Israel influence end quote?
I don't think it's anti-Semitic to conflate them, especially because like AIPAC is specifically not what is best for America. It's what's best for Israel and Americans who are aligned with Israel, right? So like they were like a big opposition to the JCPOA, which was I think a really good deal, but you know Israel wasn't as happy with it. It's not anti-Semitic to say like these people, what is might be anti-Semitic is the people who say they need to register with FARA, because to my knowledge there is no like agent like relationship between Israel and the people who lobby on behalf of Israel, because they just happen to be benefiting from the fact that there's a Jewish diaspora, there's a lot of American citizens, and the only reason that Qatar or the United Arab Emirates have to register with FARA is because there wasn't like a Emirati diaspora with a bunch of Emirati civilians in America who want to lobby on behalf of them, so they have foreign agents that take direction, and Israel does not direct AIPAC to my knowledge. So
Fair. $10 from Matthew. And a bunch of numbers. Boner Locks fan here. Soy Pill is fair and honest, even when he's wrong. Just
I
had to say
appreciate
that to counter the Loner fans who are
Mhm.
dumb enough to think Soy Pill is hiding his power level or something.
Boner Locks is a good one. I like that. And Locks, very Jewish. So I'll not very you win points there.
Oh man, $5 from another American. You're okay. I could already tell this is more than a $5 answer. What do you think a long-term solution in Gaza looks like? Wick and Loner?
Solve Israel Palestine now. $5.
For $5? Okay. Honest, look, I'm gonna be real with you, and maybe this is a hot take. They're just gonna keep killing each other. They need a third party needs to come in and sit on both sides and just like sit on them. And I don't think anyone's willing to do that. And because no one's willing to do that, Hamas is going to continuously give Hamas or some other entity is going to continuously give Israel justification to go to war with them, and they're going to continue to shoot each other until one side is gone. And yeah, that's my thought. I don't know, man. What about you, Loner?
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Like, the problem is that it's for all of the, and I've said this to Soybill before as well, even though if he disagrees, the fact, like, for all of how popular the pro-Palestine movement got, is what the fuck did it actually achieve for Palestinians? It seems like it just became a social movement that purity tests how much you hate Israel. And even the countries that went to condemning Israel, like, some of them stopped like a few arms sales that were kind of like in regards to the Israeli war effort. Most of them just did nothing. They just did rhetoric, and people were actually quite satisfied by that. The best example was Mamdani, right? Mamdani drums up so much like a frenzy by saying, I'm going to arrest Netanyahu. And people love that. But then he comes in and says, well, I looked into it. Turns out the New York mayor can't actually arrest
Beyond our
Netanyahu.
legal
I think
scope.
Trump should do it. Yeah. And he says, I think Trump should do it. The guy who's never going to do it. And then the comment section is just full of, wow, so brave. I can't believe you said that. Wow, no one else has the courage to say. What? He's saying fucking nothing. He's memeing for support. It's so
You should
fucking stupid.
lock Netanyahu in Rikers and then close Rikers and let him go. That's what he should do.
Yeah, I don't know. Like there could be another world. Like there could be a strong, principled Democratic Party in America that actually does hold Israel to task and stops them from being dragged down this fucking suicide, like hellscape that is the Israeli right wing. And the Israeli extreme right wing. And, you know, countries like fucking Turkey and Qatar could actually stop funding Hamas and stop supporting the, I don't know, this weird fucking fundamentalist victory that just seems indistinguishable from suicide. But the rest of the world just kind of sees it as a fucking playground, and nothing's going to change,
I would
unfortunately.
agree, Loner, on your assessment of like the movement. Well, first of all, I don't think a movement should be, judged based on like how much they accomplish necessarily. I mean, like if I bring up veganism again, great. Like vegans are not making more people vegan. Like it's like you look at the numbers over the past decades, it's like less than a percentage point of the population is changing. But I still think it's the right thing to do. I wouldn't criticize them for that necessarily, even if they got nothing done. But I would also say it seems like this year of any year, like these elections have shown that like they are starting to have more salience. I think the tides are finally shifting. More people are opposed to what Israel is doing, and that actually might be more to do with Israel just getting more blatant and flagrant under Trump. But I don't think they're useless. I think they've pushed the conversation. So
I'm gonna speed
Yeah,
run
but they're
these
not
last
gonna they're not gonna achieve anything because they have no fucking idea what's happening. They might get your arms embargoed. That's not gonna change Israel's behavior.
I'm gonna speed run these last ones because I really wanna
I'll get this guy in to call me anti-Semitic, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna speed run these. $5 from Natural Phenomenon. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Israel displaced them from north to south in order to not bomb them. Don't know if that thought was completed yet. Yep,
Yeah.
that's why. $5 from Bangarang. Soy pill. You understand Jewish need for a state, and then question later the need for it in the middle of heightened anti-Semitism around the world.
I don't think a state is necessary now, but this is irrelevant to whether or not I think Israel should exist because it does, right? It's not like it's like, oh well, we're fine now. Okay, Jews go home. Like go home where? They fucking live in Israel. Like
Nick Costanza for $2. Only leftists are allowed to be mean online. Okay. $5 from Precariously Based. Soy pill is cringe. All caps.
True.
Lulu Gender for $5. Soy pill giggling at racist remarks coming from.
You got
chat
me. I think
against on
racism's
the
hilarious.
podcast.
You fucking got me.
Behold, everyone, white privilege. Also, Slava Ukraini. Well, yes, true, Slava Ukraini. I think we all laughed at that, though. I think even Lonerbox
Calling Lonerbox
laughing.
a house N-word is so absurd that it is funny. Like I didn't even realize like that was because you're Arabic. Like I was just like, what?
In my black guy
Yeah,
defense, I also laughed.
Okay.
Also, I do know this not mod anymore. He helped me set up a TF2 server. He is black, so
€2 from DT.
Well, black people can be retarded as well, right?
Propeller head triggers Zio's online perfection. $5 from Kitten Stew. Why is Soy's #1 chatter giving examples of slurs they wish they could call Loner if he was black? $5 for Soy from Super Duper Scooper. Have you read As a Jew by Sarah Hurwitz and or Dara Horn's book? That YouTube system won't let me type because of the provocative title.
I have not.
Okay, me neither. $5 from Alishness. Cherry Pepsi is a war crime. Had no idea drinking Robitussin flavored worst Coke was acceptable in 2026. I'm out of Coke, okay? Thank you for your attention to this matter. Look, I'm out. And so until I get more, this is what I got. $2 for Ref Tops. To be clear, I said anti-Israeli, not anti-Israel. Okay. $5 from Neiman Nobody at Loner. Do you think Soy is a stalking horse for Hassanoids, or does he just approach these topics with low intellectual rigor?
There's the only two options. Yeah, I think you approach.
You did call me ignorant.
Intellectual.
So that the
rigor.
second one's more accurate, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's a stalking horse for Hassan. No.
What's a stalking
$2
horse?
from-
Is that a thing? Is this like a Trojan horse?
I think he
Like-
means Trojan horse. I don't know.
I think in politics, didn't they just use it for like a party, just like feeling a candidate to just stand in a seat that they know they're going to lose, but they just throw this person in anyway because as fodder.
I don't know.
But that wouldn't make sense. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I think he meant Trojan horse. That's the only thing I can think of.
Maybe.
$2 from Bangarang. Lonerbox. Matau is going to debate your buddy History Speaks.
I'd probably side with History Speaks in that debate, even though he's a fucking moron. But yeah.
$5 from Mini Mom Donnie. Calling Palestinians Hamas is a dog whistle for Islamophobia. Mom Donnie is super duper scary though. Okay.
That's incoherent ideology there.
Sure. $5 from King Wanted. Does Soy think Lonerbox does genocide apologia? That's what his other mod says.
I mean, I don't know. Do you think it's a genocide?
Nope.
Then yes, I guess. Yeah, this definitionally at the very least. Yeah.
Damn. Susie Mags, thank you for the tier 1 membership. Appreciate you. Okay, with that, I'm gonna bring on the accuser. Okay.
Do we know who this is? He's got a
Mendel,
Larry David profile picture. This gotta be a troll. Come on.
No, he's been on my show before. He's pretty serious.
Okay.
He hasn't trolled me yet, at least. It could be a long con.
Wait, my name is Troll, you're saying, in the picture?
No, it's just like someone with a Larry David profile picture coming in and calling me anti-Semitic. Like that sounds like the setup for like a troll or like a prank.
Oh no, this has been my profile picture for years, and Mendel was my character in WoW when I was 15 years old in 2004.
All right. Well,
okay,
hit me.
You have some strong words for Soy Pill in my DMs.
And if you're accusing me of anti-Semitism, you can't use as an example me going on Tim Pool and at the end putting on a hat and saying I am anti-Semitic right into the camera.
No idea.
You can't
no
use
idea
that.
that.
Okay.
No. Of course not. No. So first of all, I'm not going to try to ascribe what's in your heart of hearts because, as Wick has said, that is idiotic and honestly irrelevant. And I don't think you're a rabid anti-Semite in the sense of like, hey, Jewish people. I think you're Jewish, aren't you?
I am Jewish, but basically in name only. Ben Shapiro would call me a Gemini.
Yeah, that's fuck Ben Shapiro. So I wanted to start. I don't know. My thoughts got derailed, but here's what I'd say. I'd start with this question. I think it is anti-Semitic to.
Oh wait, hold on. You just cut out me right when you should start with this question. I think that's on my end. Oh. Sorry. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
That was just my end. I had to like interrupt because it like resets the audio or something.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You ascribe the intention of members of the Israeli military, for example, and other things like that as genocidal. And I'll try to bring it back to that argument, but I'm trying to point out there's something you two said earlier in the conversation. Am I correct in repeating that?
Yes, but I don't have all the receipts in front of me now, so I'd have to go back and find all these Reuters articles I read about like double tapping.
I'm not sure how familiar you
statements
are
from the government.
with.
So.
Well, I don't know how familiar you are with the Israeli protocols when it comes to these things, so I'm just going to give you the rundown from my perspective. I have multiple family members, including my sister, who were in Gaza. My sister was an artillery officer in the Israeli military back in the 2010s, and her reserve duty back in 2023, she was called up for reserve duty, and she was, in those bunkers that were, shooting the rockets that were, killing a lot of people, like doing this stuff. Or she was in those rooms, right? And so you're ascribing to my sister, someone who I've known my entire life, who is just a gentle young soul who works in the music industry in Israel. She did her reserve duty as genocidal intent, right? And I think
I didn't say every single member of the IDF has genocidal intent. I said there's genocidal intent from people within the IDF, and then I talked about how.
Well, I'm playing my sister's job was the final. She was the final call. She was the person who worked in the artillery divisions that put into the guidance computers the locations of the things that they were gonna. Of locations of rockets that were being fired, right? That was her job. So she was the person doing that. So you're saying that either her or someone in her chain of command had specific genocidal intent.
I don't know about your sister's specific circumstances, and especially if she wasn't doing this post October 7th, it's almost definitely like she probably wasn't. So no, I'm not saying this about your sister.
Oh no, she was. That's what I'm saying, and I'm saying that you did say this earlier in the conversation. So I'm trying to point out.
Right, and then hold on. Well, let me clarify too.
Suss out what you said.
This might be she might have participated in one of these stories that I've seen that I would classify as a war crime, where like you read these Reuters articles where it's hey, they shot at people, they said they saw a camera or a weapon that was a camera, or they misinterpreted, and then they double tapped when like medical services had come, and it's like this is a clear war crime, this is targeting of civilians. If your sister participated in that, then I would say that even if she was not the one who gave this order, if the chain of command somehow had someone saying, yep, go ahead and double tap that, even if it was on accident, this is still a war crime. And yeah, your sister participated in it, but I don't know what she did. There are
if you're talking about the double tap on the hospital stairwell, the outdoor stairwell, right?
That might be the one I remember. Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, because Islamic Jihad claimed at least 3 of those dead ones a month ago. I'm sorry. It just keeps happening. I don't know.
And how many of them were Islamic Jihad, and how many of them were civilian?
Well, that's not relevant to my point. So I don't want to bring it back to this.
Just before, Social Society has to go. Give your outro, and you can head out. Thank you for being here, by the way.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say thank you. Nice to meet you, Loner. Nice to meet you, Soy. Won't derail this too much. I appreciate the opportunity. It was a great conversation. I also thank you to Wix Chat for not leaving me any mean super chats. They all went to Soy. So also
Yeah,
thanks for being the punching bag for me, I guess, Soy.
got it. No problem. I'm used
Thanks
to
for
it.
being here, buddy. We'll have you on again
Yeah.
sometime. I'll see you
See you
later.
guys.
So first of all, if it was an accident, it can't be genocidal intent, right?
Yeah, then if it was a complete accident, yeah, but it would still be like a war crime of like, right? Like if you're
Perhaps.
like
Yeah.
that this negligent with like
Uh,
the your
So it'd be a
I'm not here to
walk
debate
back
that
like
point.
a
That's not the
genocidal
point
intent.
I'm trying to make. I think that I'm not trying to make that point either. I'm trying to, or whether it was or wasn't a war crime, or what I'm trying to say is that there's this notion that we try to take and assign intention to these complicated and large scale military operations. And we try to look at them through the lens of morality and all this other stuff. And the point I'm trying to make is that is inherently, in the context of anti Zionism, anti Semitism. And I'll explain why I think that. It's very simple, right? We wouldn't apply that standard to anyone else, right? That's number one. Number two, even if we did apply that standard, we would take the time to do the due diligence and the the work that's required to figure out these things, which is going to take time in the future. And the second point I would say, and the third point I would say, is that we would also assign a time frame to all of this stuff. The notion that there's this endless genocide that's happening, and the usage of this word, that is what's inherently anti-Semitic. This wide scale assigning of intention across a large scale of time to a large number of people with no understanding of the complexity or no recognition of the complexity of the issues, um, inherently shows a discrimination against those people, an assumption that there's an evil there, that there's immorality, that there's some lack of care or hatred towards Palestinians without any evidence of making such a claim. And that is bigotry against a large number of Jewish people. And many of them are not Israeli Jews, right? Many of them are Americans, many of them are Europeans, Brits, other people like that. Um, and that is anti Semitism, in my view.
So I mean, I was someone who, at the beginning of this, didn't even think it was a genocide because I was thinking of it in the colloquial sense of genocide requires this like person or government or like person in the government to be like, all right, let's go and let's wipe out this population, right? And that didn't seem to be what was happening. And then as these organizations come out and say these claims based on the way people are dying, the policies top down, the statements from the people in government, like this evidence that you're claiming doesn't exist, like I'm like, okay, it seems like these people have this grasp. Loner disputes that. Regardless, like I am basing it off of what they're saying. I'm not saying like just for no reason, like there's no other answer to this but genocide, because there could be other answers there. You've heard them in this conversation. You have them. Loner has them. It's, hey, it's because of the complications of where Hamas is entrenched. It's because of the weapons they're using. It's because of the policies that Hamas does. Like there are other explanations to this, and I'm not saying it's genocide just because of the consequence. It's like I'm listening to what the orgs are saying. So I don't think that's anti-Semitic. If they are specifically going off of like, if every source for these orgs was like, I don't know, like the fucking God, not the Epoch Times. What's the like the Storm Uptile? Not the Storm Uptiling. What's the fucking racist magazine? You know what I'm talking? Stormfront. Thank you. Yeah, if it was like Stormfront, I'd be like, yeah, maybe these claims are anti-Semitic. But I don't think that just saying that the intention is there based on statements made, based on policies, based on the consequences of said policies is anti-Semitic. No, I just don't buy that.
How do you feel about
let me
the,
ask
how
you.
do you, how, sorry,
Just
wait, wait, wait,
let
wait. How do
Loner
you
go
feel
for a
about,
minute. Loner, go ahead.
how do you feel about the fact that Amnesty, for ascribing genocide to Israel, in their report, they say that the current case law and the current understanding of genocidal intent is not good, that it needs to be broadened? As in, like, they want to change the definition.
Make it even easier to
accuse
call
Israel
it
of
genocide?
Yeah, but they said that they're not satisfied with the way the current case law is. And
wait, hold on, wait.
two more
Before you
pieces of
move on
information.
on that, okay, like I guess I don't know if it's too broad or I'm not a fucking genocide expert. I have no
Okay.
real opinion on that.
Well, the point is,
Yeah,
they're
okay. So
changing the
maybe they
definition.
genuinely have a problem with the case law. It's fine, 'cause there's not that much case law for genocide. Second of all, though, they didn't call October 7th a genocide, and they also delayed the report until actually after the Israel one, specifically because they thought that if they did a report on October 7th early, it would give ammunition to Israel to carry out attacks on Gaza, as in like they had a political reason for doing so. Third thing that they did was that when the Israel branch of Amnesty International, the one that actually sticks their neck out to fight with the Israeli government all the time in Israel about this war, who does think it's war crime, genocide, they were removed. Amnesty just ditched them. They ditched their Israel
Yeah,
branch,
they
even
have
though
an
this
Israel.
branch
That's like
actually,
the one branch that went against them, right? Like of all of them.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
on the
they've been
second
there,
point,
and they've been
for
the
the
branch that
October.
was also fighting with their, yeah. So those three acts, I think, are just like, it just kind of sounds like you want to treat Israel a bit differently from other groups and other countries.
I'm
I
not
don't know
even
why.
unsympathetic to that as an idea. The second one, I can understand being like, hey, if we release this as fast as we do, this might cause them to be more genocidal. I don't know how you weigh that as this internal organization. Also, I don't know if October 7th, in and of itself, I guess it's a genocidal act. Also, obviously, Hamas is like, we want to exterminate the Jews. I guess they removed that from the charter recently, but that means nothing to me. But like, is the act itself, like, did they try to do that, or were they trying to is a part of a greater genocidal intent? I don't know how you categorize these. Again, I'm not a genocide expert. For the third one, that could just as easily be like, well, you aren't meeting our standards or whatever. But then, regardless of all that, let's just take it all at face value and say, like, these people are biased against Israel. Amnesty International is. Then every other org is too. ICC and Human Rights Watch, like, they're all like the same amount. Like that's what I find very hard to believe.
The UN Commission of Inquiry for one that does like most of the the highest profile legal assessments on Israel is chaired by three people. One of them went on a podcast and complained about what he literally quoting Jewish control of social media, and the other two chairs defended him for saying that it wasn't an issue. Like, I think one of them
I'd have to
complained that
look
people
at
are
it.
just throwing around anti-Semitism claims like it's throwing rice at a wedding or something. Yeah. Okay. One more question. In 2022 or 21 or even like pre-October 7th, there's been kind of this trend where the UN General Assembly will table resolutions against particular countries for human rights abuse. They'll do like North Korea, Iran, China. Israel has this trend of getting more resolutions against them than every other country. Even on the year that Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, Israel still gets more UN resolutions against them by far.
Okay.
Why? What does that
I don't
make
have
you
an explanation.
feel?
Obviously,
Just that
so
one bit of
the problem with
information.
all of
Yeah.
these things you're bringing up is all of these things could indicate what you're pointing to, which is like maybe there's undue bias against Israel. I would have to look more into this, but to me, I would have to now have this complete set of like debunking, counterfactuals to every single org that is calling this out. I'm still a little incredulous that like literally every org is like, tell me if this is wrong. Is the claim that all of these orgs are so biased against Israel that they're basically lying because they don't like Israel?
No, I don't think they're. So there's like two explanations. One is that because of the way that Hamas have operated, controlled Gaza for the last 17 years, they have just. It's actually kind of astonishing. Just like if you look at Hamas's behavior, they understand human rights orgs very well as well, and the human rights orgs, a lot of them have to work with Hamas just so they can function, to distribute aid and things like that. So I think Hamas have like very well manipulated the situation in Gaza, and they control the situation well enough in the nation and citizens say and everything else. They know how these orgs work. They know what they can get away with, and they know around them or like which buildings they need to be in to make it like look worse when they get bombed and all that. They know perfidy. They do that all the time. They understand how that works. And even if you are approaching it in completely good faith, they can still basically influence the situation to make it look like it's just civilians dying. Like if you understand how these orgs gather information and how it's not difficult for a group like Hamas to just withhold your losses, just make sure that no one says anything, to make sure there's enough of a repression
Just to be
regime.
clear,
Yeah, they can. That's one
Lonerbox, you're
explanation.
cutting out sometimes. I don't know
Okay,
what
I
it
thought that
is.
was just me.
Sorry.
Can
No,
I
but
add to that real
fuck.
quick?
every 20 words, you'll cut out one word, right? I don't know.
Can I add one
Right.
thing to that real quick?
Just
I don't know
real
about the
quick, and I want
bias.
Soypill to. Then I have then Soypill gets a chance to respond.
Yeah.
And Soypill, I want you to like. Are you going to look into this stuff, right? Because this is good
If
information.
someone could give me
right?
like a Google Doc on it, but I again, this smells like a conspiracy. Did we just do that like independently at the same
The
time?
other thing is as well, when we talk about conspiracy, so
Yeah, let's
that
catch
first
that.
that first one was me talking about how Hamas can fuck things, can actually like mess up reports like this and influence them, even if every human rights org is being completely good faith. We know this happened, by the way. Saddam Hussein did this in Iraq during the sanction regime after the Kuwait War. We know that Saddam Hussein and his regime influenced people to give false information to aid workers who were trying to assess the effect of the sanctions. And it got people to conclude, with a few bad interviews and with a few people who were intimidated by the government, to make it look like there was a famine happening in Iraq that killed over 500,000 people. UNICEF said this, everyone, and when the human rights orgs actually finally got access to Iraqi documents after the war in 2003, they knew it turned out that it was false. It turned out the life expectancy hadn't actually lived all that much. But then they didn't say we were wrong in the past. They just changed their data. So right now, when you look at UNICEF, which was the main organization that pushed it, their life expectancy graph for Iraq is just, 90s. It just goes up normally like any other country. But yes, Saddam Hussein and his regime in Iraq managed to convince the entire world of human rights orgs that there was a famine that killed 500,000 people. And it lasted for almost like a decade. And this is, no one disputes this. No one disputes that this happened. But yeah, for some reason, like even your chat, like it's really funny. They have nothing. They don't know how to respond to this. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, my response would be like, is it possible to fool literally every independent human rights organization if what you're claiming is true? Maybe, apparently. Do I believe that this is the case? I haven't seen enough evidence to believe that literally all of them are wrong and Israel's right. I think tell me about the Saddam example. Did they allow journalists in like here? Like, were there more independent ways to verify this? Was the methodology like, checked? Like, how was this like so easily had the wool pulling over all of their eyes?
Well, the problem is that they were independent researchers. They were talking to, but the way that they do this and the way that they assessed what was happening in these households was by talking to families. They would go into households and they would ask questions about like the history of, like how many infants like in the family under 5. And
you're doing it again.
You're cutting out.
Again. You're going gate or something.
Sorry, I don't know how to stop it. I'm so sorry.
Be louder and less
they would ask
British.
questions about. They would ask questions about the family and things like that. So they did this. Like, I don't know. Even independent journalists can go and talk to families and all that. But it depends on who's influencing the family. And the families have a choice. It's like, do I tell the truth to this international human rights org, or do I and upset my government, Saddam Hussein, who's not across them, or do you not? So if you're in a closed society and human rights orgs sometimes only have the civilians to rely on, then you have a problem. But we can go further. Like, if you want to talk about the UN in general, like, what is the UN? Like, the general, it's just countries voting on things. Like, I don't know. I don't need to prove a conspiracy to say it's kind of weird that the UN passed a resolution in the 80s saying that resistance movements in Palestine have the right to resist by any means necessary. Any means, like, as what? They can just break international. And this is a General Assembly resolution. So I don't think it's international law. It's not, but it's a General Assembly, it's a UN resolution. But if you just look at the list of the countries that voted for it, they're all dictatorships mostly. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know why it's so surprising to people to think that if these international organizations, they have contributors from all over the world. Do people think that most of the world just stopped being anti-Semitic after World War II? Of course they didn't. Of course they have bias. Of course we have like large, and look at the region Israel's in. Antisemitism isn't like a prevalent issue in the neighboring countries or in
Can I jump in here?
Got like fucking Malaysia that won't let people fly to Israel like because of.
Can I add the one thing to that? Because I was going to add exactly to that point real quick.
Hold on.
I think
hold
that
on,
it's
buddy.
similar to the House of Representatives, right?
We love you, buddy.
Oh, sorry.
We love you, buddy. But Soy Pill needs a chance to talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, basically, like, this idea that these orgs can be lied to is not lost on me. Obviously, people could fudge numbers, civilians could lie, but like, I'm curious. I mean, we talked about like double standards of scrutiny. Like, do you hold every single Rights Watch report to this level, every single UN report, every single like war crime analysis? Like, it seems very specific to this. And if you don't, or if you do, then like, how do you trust anything if, hey, every single independent organization meant for the charity of human civilization is able to be fooled so easily that any country with like significant control of their civilians, whether that be, Al-Qaeda or ISIS or Assad, Saddam Hussein, all of them can just manipulate it. So we should just never listen to them ever. They're completely useless, and like, I can only ever trust what the governments of each opposing conflict are saying. Like, I don't know how you judge anything then at that point.
You're kind of you're jumping to a question that's obviously, like, I'm not saying I have an answer for why this happens, but the problem is I can't even get people to admit that there is a problem. I don't know how I can do this. I don't know how I can, like, if I show you right now that Oxfam said 70% of the injuries and deaths were women and children, and then I show you the health ministry literally saying that's not the case. I can show you exactly the date where the UN stopped using those numbers. 2 years ago, but Oxfam still feel like it's reasonable to use it like in the last month, then like, the fact
That
that
would reduce their
I can show
credibility.
you like
Yeah,
a
if Hamas
yeah.
is saying that's not true, and it's like, okay, well, this human rights org is not being manipulated by Hamas. They're literally going against them. Sure, like that would be evidence that they're using it poorly. Sure, but like
Yeah, but we can, if you want to have like a couple of hours struggle session of just going through all the examples of orgs doing this, I would happily do it with.
maybe I'd have to
So
do.
far,
I'd want
I
to do
have
a lot
not
more
caught,
research, but yeah,
yeah.
maybe.
And I can show you, I've got like, I can show you every source and we can
Let's
say, well,
set it
here's
up.
why, yeah. Like,
Let's set it up. We're going to give you a whole 2 weeks to prep for this, Soy Pill, because this is why I think this would be useful. Because all the time we come into these debates, we give you information or we get information from someone or from you, and no one it just dies there, right? It's left on the floor. No one changes their opinion. No one looks into things. No one researches anything. No one looks for counterclaims. We just move on. And this is such, I guess, a recurring topic, right? That we constantly have to go over these same basic stuff. It might be helpful in a couple weeks, right? Maybe if you need more time, 3 weeks or something, to have like a redo where again, Lonerbox get a list of things that you think he should look into, give it to Soy Pill. He can take the time to look into it, then we can reconvene and have that conversation. What do you think, gang?
I would be down for
you want
that.
me to give Soypill material to read?
Yes.
I mean, he seems to know the reports, right?
Yeah, but
Well,
I mean, if you want to
Lonerbox,
give me
if
the
you're
like,
saying
these
that
are
some of these
these
reports are
reasons
wrong,
I don't
I can,
believe it's true.
yeah.
Like, if you want to send it all to me and we can review it and go through it, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can help you really quickly. Like once you've read one or two of these reports, you've kind of read all of them because again, they're drawing from the same pool of information. So it's like, yeah. But if you want to look at issues of like, if you watch the way the discourse developed on how many aid trucks are required for Gazans to be above the humanitarian threshold for aid, that's a really good question. And you can watch how, and then the other question is how many actually went in. That's a simple question. Another simple question is what's actually the distribution
Well, I'm not
demographically
going to
of
remember all
women,
this. So if you
children,
want to, like, if
diapers,
you could
yeah,
DM me, like, I'm sure, do you have like a notes page on this?
okay.
That'd be great, and we could set up something in a couple weeks.
Sure. Yeah. Also, I will
Yeah,
say,
do your homework,
I'm not saying, yeah, I'm not saying these reports are useless. Like there are reports that I've read that actually, Lycan, you're welcome to come on and tell me where I denied the body count. But okay,
Yeah, like
which one?
you have
the
you have my
700,000 one or the
you can
70,000 one?
talk in, jump backstage. I'll pull you in, and you can expose Lonerbox, Zogbox, right? As the Mossad agent that he is. Happy to have you.
I like boner locks the best, but
Bonerlocks is
Can I add one thing though, just because I don't think I made my
just real
case
quick, and then
properly there.
we're gonna shuffle you.
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I gotta go also. I just wanted to scroll back two points. One is you should look into the UN as if you look at the UN a little bit like the House of Representatives, there's a lot of countries that are represented. A lot of countries share certain phases. There could be an imbalance in the way the voting works, but that's just inherent systemic bias. But whatever. My point was when you talked about all the evidence of the claims. And the reason why I was saying that I think you're practicing in anti-Semitism, maybe not anti-Semitic, but practicing in it, is because you're using people's statements as evidence of a wider conspiracy, even if these are high level people in the government. This is not official policy. And you don't have evidence relating to specific actions that are military actions, which is what would be required. And by ascribing, be required to even claim war crimes, which I actually do agree there are many. I just think that jump and that leap is what's anti-Semitic. I don't know. Maybe I'm not making my case. Sorry. Thank you.
I understand. I don't think that jump is insanely anti-Semitic if like the people in charge of dictating policy are saying genocidal things. I mean, if Donald Trump says like, here's the thing, Trump's Muslim ban was not a ban on Muslims, but he said he wanted to ban all Muslims. His intent was an incredibly Islamophobic thing. And then he does something that it's like, okay, if I look at this on paper, he has done nothing to specifically ban Muslims. He's even banned countries that are not predominantly Muslim. Is he Islamophobic? And the answer is fucking yes. I looked at his statements. That was the intent, and this is what he could get done. I don't think it's anti-Semitic to jump from, okay, this is their stated intent, and this is how they're implementing it, and say this is probably related. But you do have to draw that connection. You have to show that it's, trying to accomplish what they're saying they're trying to accomplish if their statements are to be taken at face value. But I don't think the jump is necessarily anti-Semitic.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep, bye-bye.
Take care.
Okay, gang. If Lycan's not coming in, I think we are We're done. I'm done. Gang, if you enjoyed this chat, if you enjoyed this content, if you liked what we had to say, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, throw your money my way because I love money. Oh, did you read it? Did I forget a super chat from Super Duper Scooper for $5? Can Soy explain a bit more about what he means by Jewish in name only? Is he Jewish or not?
I am. My mother's Jewish. So to the extent of which I was Jewish, we celebrated Hanukkah, and I never had a bar mitzvah. I don't read Hebrew. I didn't do the Torah. My great grandpa was like very upset of like how not Jewish I was. So I basically like the typical American secular Jew who is ethnically Jewish. I'm Ashkenazi, and then that's it. Like I don't do anything else. I could go on birthright, but I didn't. That's how Jewish I am.
$5 from Bremen. Loner genocided soy pill in this debate.
No, I deny these claims. I believe it was a war of aggression.
Did he have intent? That's the question. Okay. Lonerbox, last word. Where can people find you? And then soy pill, last word. Where can people find you? Lonerbox first. Go ahead.
You can find me at Lonerbox or Lonerbox Live, bro.
Check him out. Final thoughts?
You can find me. Oh.
That's fine.
Okay, soy pill.
Yeah, find me with the soy pill. A new video just came out a couple hours ago, and I'm selling little soy plushies. Go buy one.
Where can people get it if they wanted a plushie?
In my description at plusforge.ch/projects/soy-pill-chibi. Oh god, just go click on my fucking video.
Okay, click on his video. Hopefully there's a link there. I saw a link on Twitter too, so if you follow him on Twitter, you can find there. Thank you both for coming, and I'm serious about in 2 weeks having another discussion.
Yeah, let's make it happen. That'll be fun.
What people learn. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later.
Are you serious about me giving you?
Yeah, no, seriously. Like I want to like know.
Or...
I mean, yeah, give me all your Oppo research so I can know how to counter it. Yeah, don't give it.
Why don't you just wait? Nah, you were signing a whole bunch of reports. Go read them.
Yeah. If you don't want to, but it's like specifically if we are on the same page of what we'll cover. But yeah, we don't have to. It's fine. I can do it.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to argue with like 100% of it. Like obviously, there's been quite a lot of war crimes committed in Gaza. But yeah, like as far as like the broader claims and the more extreme ones, then yeah, we can see. There's nothing wrong with agreeing on bits as well.
It'll be fun. And I'm streaming a lot more now, so I'm committed, Wick. Very few bow outs will be happening now because I'm so locked in.
Based.
Also, if any of these fucking dribbling fucking retards in your chat, Soypill, want to come and actually talk to me about all these reports that I've read and that you guys haven't, you are more than welcome.
All right, you hear that? Capitalism, okay, Mr. calling him in a house N-word. You jump in that Lonerbox chat.
Like Soypill, look, I get it. Chatters are crazy. You can't control chat. They're gonna say.
I will call out when they're saying unhinged shit specifically about Loner. If they want to disagree with them, that's allowed. If it's TOS, it's allowed. But yeah.
Enter.
So specifically, my chat don't call like someone was saying like is soy pill. Is it okay to call a soy pill a house Jew? No, it's not.
Jesus,
it's not. And I told him to cut that shit out. So soy pills chat. Do not call people house N-words. Don't call Lonerbox house N-words. Do not do that. You are fucking weird for doing that. Anyway, whatever. What do I got coming up? Tomorrow I'm taking off because fuck you guys. Friday, I have a debate with Mr. Dragon Fist on what was the topic? Hold on. He had to change it. He says, the topic is American Christians would benefit more from Democratic leaders than from Republican. And I say, yes, they would. He disagrees. We're going to have a debate on it. It should be fun. Check us out Friday. It'll be fun. And then next week, I got a conversation on Tuesday with PF Young. And then I'm also talking to another gentleman, but the day and time, we're going to get it to you. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Wait, bye-bye, everyone.
Toodles.